Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I fuck that up every single week now. It's morning somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how I get out of it? It's somewhere out there. It's the morning. Oh, man, I'm having a great day. I just got some illegal Butterfingers
Why are they illegal?
because FF14 is running a promotion that's like, hey, dude, do you want some hideous ass, ugly looking mount that's like a regular stupid animal, but it's a chocolate bar? Fucking go buy a Butterfingers. But only in the US. So, like, a buddy of mine, I've mentioned him before, my buddy Vel, or I call him Cool Lightning because his character looks like a jackass. He
Mm-hmm.
just walked into a fucking store and goes and buys like 20 Butterfingers. And he's like, yes, I need different receipts for all of these, please. So that he can give them out to everybody he knows that lives in Canada.
That's
Because the
weird.
code you have to punch in is on the receipt.
Okay.
Those Butterfingers are not for me, but I got them anyway. I'm gonna get that ugly mount, I swear to God.
So, yeah, I guess I am first dose vaccinated, and
Hooray! How's your reception?
uh pretty good so far. A lot of people talk about arm numbness and then like a wave of like bad
A wave
vibes,
of bad feelings
bad things.
all of the
But
time.
that hasn't happened. I pretty much just have some like shoulder like ache, mild.
Mm-hmm.
So far that's going all right. Obviously keep an eye on it and stuff, but yeah, no, that's feels good. Happy about that. And
I have to be blunt, Wooly. You kind of sound like shit.
okay, well, yeah. No, I guess that's
Like,
that.
are you not well? Are you poorly slept?
I've had a not great couple of days, I think, but yeah. All things considered, I'm okay. I'm here.
So what's up?
Not much. Scheduled for 4 months from now to get the next one,
Ugh,
and
I
I
hate
wish
it.
it wasn't like that, but
I
that's the
hate
way
it.
it be. What I believe is happening here is that they're going to go for as broad coverage as possible as opposed to locking people down.
Yeah.
And I think the people that made that decision were doing it on the basis of more coverage is better, as opposed to,
Yeah.
because I wasn't too sure when it initially was announced about like how the dosages were going to be handled, but it seems like since it's effectively like your second dose is the same as someone else's first dose, so if we can get people up to that high percentage of protection initially, then it's like they're gonna try to go for that type of coverage more so than for going for the doubling down faster.
I mean, from a macro perspective, I totally get it.
Yeah,
From a guy looking at the spreadsheets
yeah,
and going, we have X amount of shots, I totally get it. But I bet if you asked like the average person, they would have been like, nah, nah, just tell me that when I get them right away and I'll be clear.
yeah. But no, instead they're going with that route, and again, exactly, it's like you get it, but though it is like 4 months is a long time, and you don't really get to
Woo,
choose.
September's gonna be fun, woo!
Yeah, you don't really get to
Woo!
choose a full on. You don't get to choose your second date. They just gotta hand it to you, and it's
Yeah.
like you better be free, So
Yeah, well, I
that's how
mean,
that goes.
it's kind of important.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've had a pretty anxiety ridden couple of days, and I'm not feeling super great, and I guess I didn't realize the extent of the fuck up with Final
What are you
Fantasy
talking
14.
about?
So, let's talk about it, I guess.
What happened?
I pretty much did not think, and I was probably just, you know, the we did the two streams, and I think I just fucked up by reading off some of the message spoilers for what was coming up on the quests, and then I think what happened was I basically had been doing the first stream, and then we did the second one, and in both cases, like, I was getting a lot of messages about like stuff we missed on Nier and stuff. And then like,
Hmm.
so when I got to that, because the whole time I had been just like not up to, I was in the vibe of like, oh, I don't know anything about this, everyone else knows everything, so I'm just catching up to
Hmm.
where everyone else is, and I just wasn't thinking. So then when that last like, because I had gotten the previous two full collection of messages, and when that last one came in that included stuff that wasn't out yet, I was just not thinking, and I was just in the frame of like, oh, well, everybody already knows everything about this stuff, and I'm the one that's catching up here. So then I just hit that point, and then when even when they people went like, oh yeah, these were leaked out, when I was first started going down that list, it was kind of like, yeah, again, I just wasn't thinking. I wasn't internalizing that, like, I for some reason I was like, oh, maybe like everybody already knows this stuff, or I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of what happened.
I
So
have like a genuine single word for that, and that it makes it like contextualizes for me in terms of like understanding, and it's overcorrected. Like, I can definitely understand the intention. You just leapfrogged it a little bit. That being said, I really have to say it totally happens, dude. Like, I think a lot of people expected me to come in with like a manifesto or something to blow you up. Like, no, it totally happens. You totally actually accidentally spoil shit sometimes without thinking. It's a
yeah,
realistic, totally normal thing.
and
No, Wooly, look at my eyeballs. It's a totally realistic, normal thing that no one should be mad about because it totally happens.
and yeah, and I definitely, until you texted me, I didn't realize, like, oh shit, there's a potential risk here with like Min's accountant. Fortunately, he was fine, and like it seems like he didn't know about that part of it either, and we just kind of were like,
That
whoa,
okay.
what the hell?
That part I wanna grab a hold of because it's extra funny to me. You are not crazy for not knowing that that is a thing, because basically Japanese media companies go crazy with that. Meanwhile, there are World of Warcraft streams that are just like, we're gonna live data mine it with the model viewer and all that shit. Like, the giving a fuckness is on the
Mm-hmm.
total opposite ends of the
Mm-hmm.
spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for Min doesn't know what the rules are in that game, I think is a pretty obvious thing
Mm-hmm.
to say. Min doesn't know how to comport himself and not get in trouble with the TOS in that game, as has been evidenced by stories that he's told in the past. And
Yeah,
on that
but but
stream, actually.
but 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 regardless of that, like, I it was my fault for just going with the flow and not really thinking about what was happening. And I mean, um, yeah, and I don't know. I guess like the all in all, I was really enjoying that stream, especially like the coming back around on it, on this on the lore, and the deep dive into the shit that was going on and stuff. And yeah, I have a lot of things to say about my experience briefly putting my toe into FF14. But I if I have to be perfectly honest, like, I had a pretty anxiety ridden couple of days because
Mhm.
of fucking up in the way that I did, and it has been pretty rough. And yeah, I don't know. I guess we can just talk about that or not, whatever. In the
I'll be honest, like, all this spiraled out of control to a degree. There's really only one thing I actually want to talk to you about, which is it's a direct discussion of me knowing you for 20 years, right? Wooly, you've gone crazy with this spoiler avoidance thing. The part where you're like, I turned my brain off just in case, that is a crazy person thing to do.
Yeah,
You
probably.
have lost your mind.
Probably. I think that was whenever I like to just again to do the what I to give you my side of what I think goes on there is that there's a lot of times when yeah, I think it's like if I know that I'm probably never going to dive into this thing, then like I could just be like, hey, what about this part of it or that part of it, and
right, yeah.
go full on in. But like the follow up questions, I'm not going to ask them if I'm like, oh, but like what if I actually go take a look at this thing, right? And I remember at the point that Min suggested, hey, I can come over and do this. Are you down? That I kind of was thinking like, oh, okay, so that would be one way of consuming that. And I remember you had mentioned the other thing was that you had your playlist, you know, but like Min had already proposed this idea, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds
Wooly,
cool.
Wooly, hold on. Let's be really clear. In August of 2019,
Yeah,
I proposed this idea.
yeah, that was a whole thing that came up. But I just mean to say that
I'm
like
saying it's my idea. I want credit. It's my idea.
you get credit, you get the credit.
It was me.
And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the case. And there's been times where I know that like I'd be like, oh, I wish you talked around something a little bit more, just but like I think I would just be like, okay, well, if it's something I'm gonna learn through doing anyway or whatever the case is, then like overall I'll get like your sentiment about what you're saying on things like that. But yeah, there are times when I'm like, man, I wish I could like not know this part or something. But yeah, I think perhaps I've been nuts about that side of things, and I think I don't know.
I remember
my sense of
many years ago, you refusing to play MGS3 because you couldn't get your red box.
Well, I wanted that. I wanted that box. I did.
I literally brought my copy to school and said, "Hey, take it," and you were like, "No, I want my red box."
I did want my red box. I remember that. But yeah, I think I don't know. I have enjoyed things significantly less by knowing what's about to come. So I've just been like a bit wary of that, and I don't like I don't like causing that for other people if I can avoid it. But that being said, yeah, I'm not gonna ever bring up or bug anyone about spoiler things ever again. I'm just going to put them out there for warnings about whatever I talk about, and if anyone else is doing their thing, if you're doing your thing, then I'm just gonna lay off the topic, and that'll be that.
Okay, whatever. I just wanted to point out that, Wooly, you get to live your life knowing that you're just as crazy as I am on slightly different topics. Welcome to my world.
Sure. I have a theory with no way to prove it, but I suspect that if we were to grab, not anybody, but if we were to grab anyone that's currently listening to this
right now,
yeah, and put them in front of the microphone for as long, that we would feel similarly about learning as much about them over time too, because I think everybody has things that just don't make sense to the majority of other people. I think that's
saw a tweet yesterday. I think it was by Buttons, though he's not Buttons, but he's Buttons to me. That was like, if a content creator is doing their job for a long enough period of time, everyone just starts to believe they're the stupidest person in the world because you get to know all of the stupid shit that they believe.
Yeah, that's a really good way of saying what I just attempted to. That's a good way of putting it.
It's like, oh no, like you think when you get to know somebody, what you would get is like, oh, the highs and lows, but the highs are all in front. All the good shit is your front facing forward, and then you get to the then you get to know them for 3 years, and you're like, what do you mean you won't eat your peas if they touched the mashed potatoes? What do you mean they're tainted, my actual sister? That is a real thing.
Yeah. What's pretty unpleasant is that, like, I don't know, there's a difference in how people like come at you over things. You can just kind of tell, even though you don't really have like voice or facial expressions to read. And no one's typing /s all the time, but there are times when people are coming at you.
I have a quick question before we move on,
Sure.
because I feel stupid. What is /s? I've seen it. I don't know what it means.
Sarcasm.
Is that sarcasm?
Sarcasm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Anyway, whatever. No need to long-wind it, but just I felt as if like some people that have like despised me for a long time decided to take the opportunity to like be really aggro.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
you see that when you scroll down
got your
comments,
shot.
and you see like a bunch of kind of mean ones, and then you see like 30 in a row that were all deleted, and you're like, oh man, that must have been fucking for real.
But yeah, FF14, I guess, is the big subject. And
so now that you've actually gotten physical, now I hope I'm not teasing you too much. I am trying to hold it back because I know you've had a rough week. But I will say, now that you've had
I didn't watch your video.
Okay. Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No.
It was
so I don't know what the contents were.
Oh, it was me going, you've lost your mind, and being, how could somebody who is so averse to spoilers and yada yada laugh themselves to near vomiting over the Harry Potter drive-by on like 3 separate occasions. Because that shit is funny, is the answer. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it. It's mainly it's mainly me laughing and being smug about how smart I am.
Gotcha.
Which is why I felt I needed to put it out there, because I'm very smart.
You're a genius.
Yes, very super smart. But now that Yoko Taro and God strapped you into a Clockwork Orange viewing machine and made you look, what do you think of the way that game actually literally physically functions? Because you've described MMOs in the past, but you've always described it in the context of like you walking by your old roommate's fucking PC and he was WoW fiending.
Yeah, because I mean, he really did play it every single day.
Oh, he was fiending.
And so, like, whenever I had to talk to him about anything, it was while watching his Tauren do runs in Blood Song Gulch or something.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, no. He was extra crazy. He was a PvP player. Those people have something wrong with them.
So, that's not but that's not like the beginning of my MMO experience, though. It just that's where a lot of WoW like observing took place. Yeah, I talked about it during the stream itself, but like the fact that enemies flinch, I think, is something that I find pretty good. I like it in Black Desert, and I like it in this when you're fighting trash mobs, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because like they don't flinch much, but it
makes a
helps
difference
to make it helps to make it look more than like you hitting a 3D model that has been placed there.
Yeah, and I saw someone say like, the problem is, dude, don't think about everything as like an action or single player game. This is a different version of ATB, effectively. And
yeah, hotbar combat, particularly 14s, is kind of. similarly.
Yeah, and it's 3D and there's movement involved, but it's still that sort of thing happening. And I do understand that, but it doesn't change the fact that like these little things are just preferences I have, and I'm gonna miss them if I
Mm-hmm.
notice that you're swinging at something that doesn't care you're swinging at it. It just I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It's a weird little thing, but it's there.
There
Um,
are on occasion the very rare situation where you'll have to throw out an interrupt, and by have to I mean you usually like if there's an interruptible coming out, you will have to interrupt it or the world will
mhm.
be over. And you'll see like a more pronounced flinch, but it's still nothing compared to like a counter hit in even the most basic action game.
But it doesn't feel anywhere near as bad as a multiplayer game where neither of you are reacting to each other, right? Think about how silly and dumb that is when you're just standing swinging and neither of you cares about and then one of you drops dead first, and I'm like, yeah, I
Did
guess.
you'd never played Monster Hunter Before World, right? So Monster Hunter Before World had a really it was a baby problem. Like didn't matter. Wasn't a big deal, but it was visually horrifying, and it was that the smaller animals were not synced between clients. So you would see me run forward and slash at nothing, and then a deer 10 feet away would fall over and die.
Oh, jeez.
It looked really bad. It's probably the worst implementation of anything like that I have ever seen in my life.
So 14 has that going for it, and when something is big enough, you don't expect to see it flinch, really. You know. Um,
Anything that is like a what do you call it? Anything that's like a certain size or below will flinch, including some bosses.
mhm.
But the ones that you see in the near raid, because like the 24 mans tend to have bosses that have to be physically gigantic because you need to have room for 24 people to smack on them.
Right.
So the ones that are like they're the semicircle of the target is coming halfway into the whole arena. Yeah, those ones aren't going to flinch. But anything that's like a movable targetable thing does have a flinch effect. Even bigger ones, like there's a berserker in one of the dungeons that's pretty big, and he also flinches on hit.
Um, yeah, I think but like and not just like, and like if you were to go outside of the genre again, like when you're fighting Goliath in DMC5, you're not expecting big flinches until you do something that matters, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
size kind of sells the tanking of your hits and such. Um
Mm-hmm.
but that stuff aside, you had the the way that an actual like large group of people has to play a game together was something that like I just I didn't know what to expect, and then seeing how it came down to like almost rhythm game like pattern recognition and movement, where it's like again a lot of guaranteed damage is coming your way, whereas in other genres you're trying to not ever get touched and beat it perfectly. Here it's like, no, you have to mitigate what you're going to take, and you're never going to avoid everything. You know?
Yeah, there's basically your two types of damage for your every encounter is the shit that's coming out that you can avoid, which is everything that has an AoE marker, or in harder content stuff that has a invisible AoE marker. Like it would be there in the normal version of the fight, but it's just not
Mm-hmm.
shown to be
Mm-hmm.
harder. And then there's stuff that like the boss is just going to cast something that hits every single fucking person in the raid with 30% of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to want your scholar to shield it. You're going to want regen on. You're going to want mitigation from your tanks.
Um,
And
and you're gonna want everybody there to know what each symbol means.
so here's my favorite part, because I knew you were looking at a list Solidus gave you of symbols.
Correct.
And you don't need to know any of those for this discussion. What you did need to know was that I assume the list he gave you was enormous.
It was. a giant list of the different types, and at some of them it would say it's here's a bunch of stuff that look like an eyeball. If you see something that looks like an eyeball, turn around.
Yes, that's gaze, which would always throw Paige for a loop because I'd be raiding and I would just yell out gaze, avoid the gaze, and she would pop her head up and go, "What?" It's like, "No, honey, it's dragon's gaze. Don't worry about it." There's a lot of those indicators. There's a huge amount, and one of the funniest things that ever happened in the history of that game was that in the 2.0 series, they are not standardized at all. Every single different boss had a different icon for like the same mechanic. So like this boss had this icon for stack, and this boss had this icon for stack, and it was a total fucking mess. And then they standardized them from Heavensward onwards. So this is stack, this is Earthshakers, this is Pyretic, this is yada yada. And like, you staring at that, you would be surprised at how much of the difficulty of any particular encounter is literally, do you know what Pyretic means at all?
No.
Like, I'm playing the game at all. I'm playing the game often. And we'll go into random parties, and a flame effect flies across the whole screen. That's Pyretic. You'll see a flame effect like a fire animation go across the whole screen. And you will get a ticker that says Pyretic in the upper right. And Pyretic means don't move. If you move,
yes.
you will take a huge tick of damage.
Saw that on the list. Yeah.
Right? And you get to 80, and you're doing like a dungeon boss, and the dungeon boss has Pyretic. And this is a mechanic that has been around for 6.5 years and has been consistent the whole time. And you had to see it to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it go off, and the person just instantly dies because they jumped or they moved, and you go,
I saw the description.
Just the stack marker. People get the stack marker and they just run away, and it's like it's 4 arrows
moving together inwards.
A spot.
Yeah. Stack up. I saw the Pyretic descriptor say that, like, don't move. Casting animations count as not movement. Jumping is movement, and also ice on the floor will sometimes be a thing too, where you start moving all over the place or something like that, and it's not, instead of damage, you get thrown off the arena or something like that.
Yeah, and then there's a second ice one, which is you must move.
Okay.
Right, and so like there's a recent EX trial that he'll be casting either Pyretic or the demand movement blizzard. I actually forget the name of it, and you have to react to it on like a few second timer.
Yeah, so this what amounts to a looking at the floor rhythm and shmup 40-player game or 24-player game or 8-player game is pretty cool. I like that, again, like everyone is coordinating in that way, and there's different things that you have to kind of be aware of, and that's the part of it that takes replaying and mastery. Playing it for the first time, going through it, it was rather like, oh, you don't get to look at anything because you have to stare at the floor.
So no, I disagree. That is per player. You do have to look to the floor to a certain degree, but you also have plenty of time to look at what's going on. In fact, there's a bunch of encounters in which like markers will appear on the sides, or you'll have to be watching like boss animations in which you must be looking.
Okay.
Like one of the more interesting things about the Rathalos fight that they brought in as a crossover was the Rathalos doesn't have any markers at all.
Oh, wow.
The Rathalos will do his tail swipe, and it's like if he starts the tail swipe and you're in this vicinity, you'll get knocked over because it's a Monster Hunter boss.
But I understand why Min was looking at the floor so much, though.
Oh yeah, no,
because that's where the information is being conveyed to you.
You know? There was a friend of Fields and KZ that was talking about how they recently ran through some of the earlier raids in the game. The 24 mans at the beginning of the game are now like such a hilarious joke that you get in there and everyone's running it so quickly that you're like, I didn't get to do anything, I didn't get to see anything, right? And part of that is that because you are incentivized to look at the floor, despite the fact that there's a visual, there's stuff happening around. That's kind of okay because you're going to be running these multiple times. It is extraordinarily uncommon for somebody to run like the near raids that you saw once and then be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, you're probably going to want to run it 5 times in order to get the head, the arms, the chest, the legs, and the feet for your character for a look. Or you could run it 17 times if you want to get the upgrade material that lets you skip some of the savage fights to upgrade your gear. But you're going to be looking at these 20 times each. No problem.
In Nier's case, you also get to walk back through it, right? And take in at least the environment part of it. So, it's definitely, not that bad. But there were times where it was like, wait, what was that attack? And it was like, who knows? But we avoided it,
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting dilemma because it's the situation where the worse you are at it, the more you'll get to appreciate all the animations.
Okay.
Because you'll fail.
Because you're not right. And so each of those 5 times you're going through it, you're getting these parts of these characters who are just walking mannequins in a mall showing off what you can wear that are not actually characters.
I'm sick of Emerald Weapons animations. I don't care about them anymore. I've cleared Emerald 90 times. And
Hold on a second.
Hmm?
There's some mic issues going on. Let me try to fix this. Let me see what's going on. There's some mic static. 1 second.
Oh, while you do that, I'm going to see what the dog is doing.
Guys, are you still hearing it? Okay, let me see what I can do about that.
Hey. Hello?
Okay. Yeah, I think it might have been my wire. What's going on here? Is it good now?
The dog stole my seat.
Okay. It was my wire got loose. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me just make a note for the cut on that.
Hey, I'm trying to do a podcast.
All right. Cool. We got it.
Hey. You my spot. Hey. You my spot. Come on, go. Thank you.
All right, so we've taken care of that issue.
Go.
And is he okay? All right, I'm just have a conversation with Dog Ass, see if we can get anything going.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? You got there first. Uh, yeah.
I got you. I got me.
Pup farts and Chewy in the morning.
You know what's one of the more interesting things you're describing, like the rhythm game and the placement aspect of it.
Yeah, well, rhythm. I mean, not really rhythm, I suppose, but just yeah, like there's bullet dodging and just pattern movement recognition, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it. You know, I'm sure there's a better
And
genre for that.
then there's like, hey man, you know that giant magical protective bubble that everyone's standing in?
Mm-hmm.
Stand in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stand in it or you will die. Honestly, if I had to, like, ironically enough, like I know the trend of fighting game analogies is like hit a peak absurdity. But did Min ever talk to you about the rotation?
Yes. So, doing your rotation is mandatory. It's how you fight effectively. It's how you stay in and do the correct amount of damage by doing all of your spells in a particular order. As one cools down, you allow the next one to go, and then by the time you're through the last one, the first one comes back up, and that's how you
Yeah.
stay consistent on your damage. And it's unnecessary fighting against randoms and random trash things in the world, but
Hmm.
against a boss, you want to stay in and do it as long as possible until the last moment where you have to do your defensive maneuver, is what I
Yeah.
understood of
The,
it.
the the difference is like night and day. It's like 94%. Like if you were to run it, like, because you can just like sit there and watch, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
why is this so slow?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can look at like somebody's cast bar, and you're like, this motherfucker is just casting Jolt over and over.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difference between like 5% and 100%.
Right. And I mean that idea of just like, um properly clicking on things to maximize your time. Any RTS or game with a you click on a thing and it's got a cooldown, training unit ready,
Hmm.
like you find ways to optimize that. You click on one base while that's building, you go to the other. And so yeah, the idea is one that makes sense. I guess you have to have it seems like everyone has a ton of abilities, and you will always, I guess, want to be working with enough so that you will come back to your first one by the time you finish your last one.
It depends. I mean, it depends on how fast. Everybody has a different rotation. It's one of the more interesting things. Like, as somebody who's played every cap to class, sorry, every class to cap, like they all function very differently. Like you have something like Dancer, which does not have a rotation. Dancer is all procs. You do ability 1 and it will always proc ability 2, but there's only a 50% chance it'll proc ability 3. And ability 2 will have a 50% chance to proc ability 4, but 2 and 4 are where all the good damage comes from. And 2 and 4 have a 50% chance each of procking ability 5, which is the fan.
And what if any of these fail?
Then you do it again and do it again, and over a length of time it will even itself out. And there is one of your cooldown buttons on 60 seconds, or maybe it's 120, don't play Dancer that often, is proc everything on the bar.
But no one blames you if it fails
No.
because it's
So
built into
that
the
like
character that there's a
there are
chance you can.
like 4 or 5 classes that all work off procs, like Bard, Old Machinist, Dancer, uh certain black mage stuff. Like you have to keep your eye on a swivel to see the proc go off, whether or not. And then you also have, oh, red mage of course is all procs, but then you have stuff like my character. I play a Dark Knight. Nothing ever changes ever.
Hmm.
Like my rotation is a straight line, and it is, don't deviate from it ever.
How many things usually
How many things?
before you
What do
loop
you mean?
back around? How many?
Oh, it's on a 120-second loop because the
No, I mean
strongest
how many
ability.
steps to the rotation?
Oh, I. You know what's really weird? I can't tell you unless I'm holding a controller.
Really? Okay.
I literally can't tell you. It's Power Slash, then Dark Slash, then Siphon Strike, then Salted Earth, then Bloodletter, then... Well, you have to start with Blood Weapon, so then you'll have your 50 after Bloodletter, and then you do Living Shadow, and then you have to do Delirium, and you have to do it Living Shadow and then Delirium, because Delirium lasts for 10 seconds, and if you hit it too early, then your cooldown won't rotate around for the 5th one. It's a whole fucking thing.
So over 5 or 6 things?
Oh, way more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Way more. They range in complexity from Dancer, which is almost nothing, to the Summoner rotation, which I will, you know what? I'll just grab a photo of it, because you can visualize these rotations.
Well, I'm thinking of the 12 shortcut buttons Min had on display for all the things he was going to cast.
Yeah.
And
so the way that Min has it is like there's 2 different ways to do it. You have the 16 buttons, right, which is D-pad, and then 4 buttons, and then left trigger, right trigger. And then you have he was using right bumper to switch to a second one, right? What you can also do is have it so that if you hold left trigger, you get the left ones. If you hold right trigger, you get the right ones. However, if you hold left trigger, then right trigger, you get the left ones on the second one. And if you hold right trigger, then left trigger, you get the right one. So you get the ones on the second one on the right. And if you double tap left, you get the 3rd set on the left. And if you double tap right, you get the 3rd set on the right.
You have up to 6 sets?
I use 6 sets of 8.
Wow. Okay.
Now, the ones on the double taps are shit like mounts, rare items, limit break, stuff that you will never, ever, ever have to put into your rotation. But there's a reason why I put out a tutorial guide a long time ago that was how to play this game on a controller. And I used a couple classes as examples. And the thing that I was basically talking about, movement, you're moving all the time, right? And the last thing that you want to do is have to be moving and then hit the D-pad on one of your skills. So you want to put your buttons that would actually be buttons for movement. So you look at your rotation, learn the rotation, then build your control layout around the realities of actually needing that.
Okay. I suppose it's not that crazy if you just think about all of those actions as switch to Beowulf and press down up, attack, or
it's ironically enough
switch to style and do input.
Despite the control
it's a move
shenanigans,
list.
like I'm gonna send you a photo of the summoner rotation, which you may be confused because it's a big circle.
Okay, so I'm looking at a picture here, and Dreadworm Trance into Bahamut phase, into Filler phase 1, run 3 priority, run 4 optimization, Firebird Trance phase, and then Filler phase 2, run 3 priority, Ruin 4 optimization. Oh, that's actually, I get it.
Right.
That's like a Marvel combo. In that, you
want to be doing this, and then when that's over, you want to switch into this. And with Summoner, it's the you have to build up the next phase with procs to get the next one. So you can't just go into Phoenix. You have to set up Phoenix with the Bahamut thing and all that shit. So
now,
that's
dumb woolly fucking fighting game conversion aside, it literally
this actually worked really well.
It actually is like that, though. Yeah, that's the thing, right? And then there's a
Right?
filler point, and then there's, okay, take your wall bounce. All right, begin filler phase 2.
Exactly.
Yes, totally. I get it.
Now, here's where it gets a little more complicated, because the second thing I'm sending you is what's called your opener. So your opener is your idealized rotation. It is what you're going to be doing in the first 60 to 120 seconds of the fight.
Cast 2 things as a pre-pull.
It is to the millisecond. It is, you're doing this, and then the ones on the bottom are hit this, and then in between the next 2, hit this, and double weave it.
And then this will cool down by that point in time.
And at the bottom of that, you see all those lines?
Yeah.
What that is the timeline of every other class's buffs. So you notice there's a point where the every single buff lines up, and they're all overlapping. Over on the top of that, in that rotation, is where all of the strongest hits from the summoner's rotation are, because it's guaranteed to be simultaneous to trick attack, to battle litany, and so all of these things have multiplicative effects.
So this exact pattern with these classes is optimal damage, essentially.
Yeah, so then you get really bizarre optimization shit where people go, listen, we don't want ninjas. We don't want red mages. We need a ninja because we need trick attack. Because trick attack every 60 seconds is a 5% damage buff, and it lines up with everybody else's rotation. So, like, for the longest time, it was this weird thing where trick attack was a 10% damage buff to everybody. It was actually a damage up on the boss, so you didn't have to apply it to anybody else. And it was every 60 seconds. So every rotation in the game gets created alongside, well, you want the big hits to be within the 50 to 70 second window, because you want them to all line up with trick, which makes ninjas totally invaluable. So they finally nerfed it a couple months ago.
So classes that are primarily support are going to be buffing on a rotation, and healers, I guess, are just focusing on whoever's low, and when everyone's up, doing other support things.
Yeah,
and,
so
because it converts it like it makes the most sense when you're talking about someone who's doing damage, because it's like, here's a bunch of things you click on to do damage in a sequence. But when you get into things that are less direct in that way, it starts to become a little bit I guess less obvious.
So here's where it gets weird, and here's where, like, there's the philosophy of it or whatever. The best defense is a good offense is something that applies pretty significantly to MMOs. And it applies to fighters as well. If you create a touch of death combo, you don't need to worry about your fundamentals as much, because if you touch them, they're dead. Right? The longer, like, there are phases of bosses that don't exist if you get to do enough damage. Right?
Yeah, so, Skull God had to slow down to let some extra phases show.
Right. So you've got Tank. Tank should be doing as much damage as possible. The only difference is they're going to be pointing the boss where it needs to be and mitigating so that they don't die instantly when tank busters come in. DPS, they get to just go crazy as hard as they can, but also they'll be managing all side mechanics. All, like, you have to drop the puddle over here or else everyone's going to die. You need to, both of you, run to the sides and touch this and then touch each other or what have you. But you mentioned that there are DPS that do have buff abilities. They should be using those buff abilities for their own rotation and for the party rotation, which means follow the rotation down to the second. Like, it's super exact, right? If you want to be perfectly optimal. And then healers is the most interesting, because there's a huge argument. And this is the number one time that you don't pay my sub comes through. Healers have 85-90% of their buttons do heals, and maybe 3 or 4 of their buttons do damage. And you go, well, I play healer, I shouldn't have to do damage, right? You don't have to, but if you're a good healer, you're actually going to be just standing there doing actually nothing for like 60% or more of the fight.
Yeah. Shout outs to Mothman's Mercy back in the Overwatch days. He'd pull the gun out and start shooting. Get in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, both healers combined add up to another DPS in terms of damage. If they're hitting their buttons, it's a lot. It's way faster, and the meta for healers then becomes about overhealing. It becomes every point of health that you heal somebody over their maximum is wasted.
Okay, yeah.
So you actually want, as you increase in skill, you want health bars to sit lower and lower and lower. So that you can, because if they are alive, who cares what health they are?
And you can get them back up as long as they don't fuck up in the next X seconds.
Yes. So
yeah,
when you're running a 24-man, you tend to keep everybody topped up to maximum because you don't know or trust any of these people. And if they die, it takes a shit ton of your MP, a lot of time, and it puts a damage debuff on them.
Now, what happens more often? Someone fucking up standing in the wrong place, or someone only being able to get three abilities off instead of 4 in each phrase of the rotation.
For optimal play, you always want to get that last one. For 99.9% of all play, including everything that I've ever done, get out of the fucking circle. Like the one hit of damage that you're gonna do for, I don't know, 11,000 damage is nothing compared to the 10% debuff you're gonna get for the next 2 minutes if somebody has to pick you up off the floor.
Okay.
Like the risk reward ratio is enormous. Like you'll have people that are, you know, they have rotations that build up to like a gigantic hit, right? And so like let's take I play Samurai a little bit, and Samurai has a button that does like stupid numbers. Like right now on a crit, it'll do like 122,000 or some shit like that. It's fucking ridiculous. And so like you have you see your cooldown going, your 2.5 second global cooldown, and you're like, dude, if I can wait just like half a second more, I could totally hit it. It's almost never worth it because you're almost always going to eat it.
Okay.
You're almost always going to just die.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, shout outs to Dreyfus Frost for explaining to me a lot of the rotation stuff, because it was basically he's like, because basically Solidus went, hey, just so that your eyes
I used to raid with that guy.
Yeah, so just so Solidus was like, just so your eyes don't glaze over, here's what the patterns and arrows and symbols mean. And then Dreyfus was like, and here's what Min is doing at the same time. So these two things combined, you understand what's happening in this room, you know, with the flashing
degree,
lights.
Right? Because there's a lot.
Though I guess you discuss and have a plan in advance for like who gets to use the LB3.
Well,
to use the terminology.
I mean, there's a certain philosophy to that. And it's really simple. It's, are you fighting Alexander or WOL or any of these bosses that have a move that will just kill the party if you don't use the tank LB? Use it. Right? Alexander builds the Alexander fight. There's a giant sequence where the giant robot just builds up for 15 seconds and literally counts down the second until they hit you. And if you do anything other than use the LB for the tanks, you'll all just die. So it doesn't matter. Like it's required.
Okay.
Every other situation is, do you want to do more damage or do you want to save it just in case there's a disastrous wipe and the healer can pick up everybody off the floor?
But if you are all doing your job properly, you can get it done faster by casting it, because otherwise you're sitting on...
Oh, we know. Then you go, no, we know what we're doing, and then use the Dragoon LB3, and then you get locked in place, and the Dragoon dies, and then the person the summoner who tries to pick them off the floor doesn't move because raise takes 10 seconds, and then they die, and then the red mage tries to pick up the summoner, and then they die, and then all of a sudden, it's just cascading down.
But the uh-ohs are coming in later in the fight most of the time, right? So you can use it immediately and at least let it build back up over the course of the fight.
You'll never get a second LB3.
Okay.
And the healer one is the most valuable because the healer one is everybody's off the floor to full health like nothing ever happened in 1 second.
Heroes never die.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, and this is where you get into prog versus farm, which is a fascinating class balance issue. So, like, red mage doesn't do the most damage. It doesn't. It does a little bit less damage than most of the other DPS. But it can raise people off the floor instantly. It has a mechanic where it casts one spell with a normal cast time, and then the second one's instant. So you do something cast like Cure, that's just 1 second, and then you do Raise. And it can raise people instantly. So red mages aren't the best for when you're hardcore super the best and you want
everyone's
to clear this
good. You don't need to res,
on Sunday. Right. But when you're going into a new fight, they're fucking invaluable. Because they let you recover from mistakes like that. And every class lives somewhere on that diagram, right? People love to bring in white mages because white mages make mistakes go away.
The
Scholars,
less mistakes
however,
you make,
keep mistakes from happening.
Right. And then I get
your comfort with what role that is going to be dependent on class and desire and personality.
And you can do, I assume, the equivalent of like a dive comp or something like that, where you go minimal healing, maximum.
Oh, absolutely!
DPS,
there are totally groups
like
that would go into encounters, fucking 1 tank, 6 DPS, 1 healer.
Okay.
Instead of 2 tanks and 2 healers and 4 DPS. And some fights that totally works because you're doing so much damage that the dangerous phase doesn't happen. Now that's not common because if there are bosses that like there are bosses you can skip the phase, and then there are bosses that when you hit a certain HP threshold, they're like, no, we're doing this mechanic no matter how fucking fast your bullshit is or not.
Or I guess your solo healer, I guess, is like a maestro and doesn't even really need a second one because they're on top of it.
Oh yeah, solo, like people who can solo heal excellently while also doing damage are the absolute best players, 100%, because the healing has such a bizarre meta to it. Like I said earlier, which was there's a binary state between living and dead, right? And I saw somebody in the chat put it even more succinctly, which was the only HP that matters is the last one.
Yeah, right.
But after that, there's MP, because say you have a white mage. White mages have all these buttons that don't use any MP and aren't on the global cooldown, so they can just use them whenever, right? All of their damage abilities are on the global cooldown, so then it becomes, how long can you keep everyone in here alive without using a single wasted damage slot or a single MP? Because every time you heal somebody with Cure 2, that's a glare you weren't casting to damage the boss.
Okay. Now, the other thing, too, is I noticed that, like, tanks would be direct targeted for periods of fights. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And that is, I guess, random?
No.
In the sense that, like, if it'll pick between one of 2 people that have this job or whatever and focus on them for a period of time.
So there's 2 versions of that. One is so in the third near raid, there's a part where all 3 tanks get circled by a red circle, and it means Tank Buster's going to hit all 3 of them.
I remember that with the little thing above their heads. Yeah.
So on those, it's every tank is going to get hit by it, right? If only one tank is the one that gets hit by it, it will be the one that it has the highest aggro. So it'll be whoever's main tanking it. There are, however, other mechanics like,
Highest
say,
aggro.
yeah, it's called enmity in game. Basically, tanks put on a stance that multiplies the damage the boss thinks they're being done to them, so that they target them exclusively.
Okay.
The whole point of tanking is you put on grit or deliverance or shield oath or whatever, and that designates you as the primary target as soon as you hit the boss, because it multiplies the enmity damage off your skills by like 100. It says to the in-game system, "Oh man, this paladin's actually doing 1,000,000 damage. Focus on him," and that allows you to drag the boss to wherever you want it to go.
Yeah, but like I guess I'm just wondering why that, because to me that seems like, again, that seems binary, where it's like
Seems like a total given, right?
one or the other. Why would it ever look away then?
So this is a bizarreness that happened. Basically, you have the reason why is because you go into fights with two tanks. And if it was the tank itself caused the extra aggro, then how do you decide which of these two is the main? Right? You need a toggle on one of them that determines, hey man, no, this is the one that's going to be main, this is going to be the one that's off.
Okay.
And in addition to that, you have the provoke ability, which is for switching. So there's a huge amount of almost every encounter in the game has a tank buster, which is a super high damaging single target attack that leaves a debuff on the tank that if they don't get the boss's attention off them, the auto attacks will just kill them immediately afterwards.
Okay.
So, for example, I'm fighting Diamond Weapon. It builds up its tank buster. My buddy Darius provokes. He hits me with the tank buster, and then because of the provoke, the diamond just instantly turns on a dime towards Darius, and now Darius is the tank
he switches
for
over.
the
Yeah.
next 2 minutes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean I developed somewhat of an understanding and a respect for like that level of coordination in the group with each of those fights. It was pretty cool to see. And I mean, outside of that aspect, because afterwards the group got together and was like, hey, let's show off Knights of the Round.
Before that, I just want to finish one thing with an ironically enough fighting game analogy, the one that I was building up to, which was the best way that I could describe the rotation and general gameplay is that you are in training mode running infinites on a dummy while somebody in your vicinity is literally throwing objects at you for you to dodge. Like somebody is throwing bananas at you or fucking cans.
Right. keep the rhythm up.
Keep it up. Don't drop it.
Yeah.
Don't drop it.
Okay, now you have to get away. Okay, get back in.
And if you get hit in the head with a can, you're not going to keep your fucking infinite up, are you?
Are there? I'm trying to think if there's any Souls bosses where, like, I guess Phalanx is the closest thing, but not really. Where like all
they're
ads...
purely reactive.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, like it's the difference between an active boss and like a boss in Final Fantasy is a fucking timed spreadsheet. If you really break it down, like you can determine to the second every single thing that they're going.
Well,
to
all
do.
raid bosses are that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who invented the raid?
Who invented the raid?
Yes, the large MMO raid.
I want to say EverQuest. But it's interesting to mention because raids across different games share literally no similarity at all, even on a like mechanical or thematic or genre level. Like raids in World of Warcraft in terms of like movement complexity are like a baby's toy compared to 14. But what they have is a much stronger gear check and pre-fight buff check. It's much more preparatory and less performative.
And less reactive. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
Eh.
like you'll get a situation where my buddies are playing classic and they're complaining because the fucking raid leader is going, well, we got to spend the 2 hours running around the world getting world buffs so we can fucking clear Onyxia in a fucking record time, and it's a miserable fucking experience.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's interesting to get a grasp of that, even from just like a fucking super distant perspective. But it was cool. It was cool. It was probably the coolest part of, that entire thing. The part where you're running around in the world and everyone's just fucking riding their three-headed Cerberus and spinning in circles and blocking the door.
By the way, Wooly, I have to mention, you've mentioned him before, the guy on the three-headed Cerberus is the guy who just bought me a Butterfinger from the States.
Yeah, okay. All right. Good.
We were
good on.
we were sitting in Discord, like laughing our asses off, trying to get our giant mounts to block the door as big as we could.
But it's not just the door. It's the literal NPC quest giver standing next to the door. You can't see him because everyone's big mounts are just clipping through each other. And it's just like, what the fuck is this, man?
So, two things, actually. Well, three things. One is, you're streaming. You're streaming in a digital space that people can literally inhabit.
Yeah.
So they're going to go do it. The second thing is there have been a couple MMOs that have had collision and you don't want to play one.
Oh.
Having
God.
player collision.
Oh, God.
Because you're thinking, like, this is annoying how people can overlap on top of characters and
Your
I can't click on them.
visuals, yeah.
What if they just physically
Push
your
you
path?
out of the way? Yeah. Pool's closed, exactly. That's fucking Habbo Hotel shit.
And the third one is, that is actually a fairly... because you played the third raid, or you watched the third raid be played a couple weeks after its heyday, after its launch day. The Tuesday of the release of a piece of content is there are so many people here that when you turn the camera, people on the left side of the screen despawn so the people on the right side of the screen can load in.
Jesus Christ.
And you get this part where you're having the most climactic thing that could ever happen, and it's this tragic moment with your buddy Alphino, and you're like hurt and you're sad and you're like, Alphino, where are you? I can't. There's a guy named Ahegao Mindbreak just put on top of you, and I can't click. I keep clicking on his profile. God damn it.
I mean, at least they disappeared during the cutscenes. But yeah, it's that moment I had in Automata where, I'm at the climax of one of the most emotional moments, and Emil's stupid car is driving around in the background, blasting his song and ruining everything.
Oh, man, that's perfect.
And you're like,
great.
I just got bad luck, bad RNG today, fucking hell, man. It's that times a million.
It's extra weird, and this isn't to go back into the old one to make fun of you, but MMOs and spoilers and spoiler realities is probably the most complicated thing of any genre of game, because the game is not in real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for a functional perspective, things literally occurred, right? So there's been an ongoing war inside that game. That war's been ongoing for 2 real life years. And people are walking around with gear from it, and mounts from it, and titles from it. So the idea of shut up about Gimlet Dark is absurd, because you can't. It's there, right? So it tends to be whatever the current patch is, everybody shuts up, but as soon as the patch recedes into the background, Like
start talking about
5.4,
it.
it's now like open
Mm-hmm.
to a degree because it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like you still shouldn't go out of your way to be like, hey, did you hear about what happened to Estinian?
But
Yada,
you're gonna
yada.
see people walking around with some shit. Yeah.
And every now and then, the game itself decides to fuck you. There was a title that you got for clearing the final dungeon in Heavensward. And the name of the title, in English only, was Blank's Final Witness. And you
Okay.
logged in, and it was the first thing you saw when you logged in is people running around with that. And it was just like, you guys are stupid idiots. Wow. There's another situation where the patch trailer decided to hide who the new boss was going to be, so everyone was interested. And then a buddy of mine started crafting and went, oh cool, there's new crafting recipes. And in the new crafting recipe, it's the ornament that includes the item that comes from boss name.
Okay.
Or I think somebody else was playing and they went to go play Triple Triad, and the Triple Triad cards spoiled.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, that's.
And it's
what are you gonna
like,
do about that? Yeah, for sure. Triple Triad
it's
cards.
it's why there's such a weird like push for when people start to like catch up as fast as they can, because
or
once
suffer
you're
the
caught up,
consequences.
there's you're safe until the next one. It's a weird, everything about MMO. It's why I end up talking at length about them, because everything about the culture of it is fascinating because it's not real.
So you could design a game where a lot of that is perhaps you could create a game where you can turn on and off as much of that as you want, I imagine, by using instances to control the you know what I mean, like how much multiplayer versus how much single player, or at the very least like pseudo single player you're getting. If you had to walk into a big old plot castle where nothing but important conversations would happen and then walk back out, I would have no problem walking into an instance that was private to me of that castle, doing all my conversing, and then walking back out into the real world.
That is most of that game. That solution is what they do 90% of the time.
Okay.
In fact, what you end up doing a lot of the time is you'll go in the near raid itself, you would talk to people outside in the village where everyone was yucking it up. But then once you went into that one room, it was always empty. The only people in there were 2B and Konog and Anog. And that structure is how most of them go. There's a centralized location called the Rising Stones, where, like, I want to say, like, the start and end of almost every patch for the past 2 years has taken place. Where you walk in and it's a fully public area, and then you cross the threshold, and then it's a fully public area for in-game characters, such as Hori Boulder and Alphino and Alize, etc.
It's weird seeing how they have to scale up things like doors and stairs for giant groups of people when you're walking back through the near areas alone.
Oh, dude, they had some fun with this expansion. So by the way, Min plays a Lalafell, and that's terrible.
The smallest possible experience.
That's just awful. I have friends that play Lalafell, and that's also terrible. And they should stop. It's one of the most popular races in the game, but go die potatoes. All right. Moving on from that, they did have some fun with that, in that you cannot enter any of the dwarf homes unless you are actually that small.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Yeah. In the end, we did a little character creator tryout just so I can put the system on trial, and it's old. It does what it's supposed to, but it's pretty antiquated. In the end, I made a buff girl.
Yeah, of course. You made
surprise,
a female
surprise.
Rogadin. I could have told anybody you would have gone for a female Hellsguard Rogadin.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's the same character I play. Well, I play a
But
guy, but still.
but it was also like it was like that was. But it's the most obvious, but like it's also the most obvious because like what other like close but not quite things like that are there? Not many, right? I felt as if you saw some of those races where it was like, what was the one where it was like giant beast thing and then tiny little bikini, and you're like, all right, well, that's fine, I guess, if you just want to go hard on the coward train, don't allow it to customize to the fullest extent. But it was so like Monster Hunter armor vibes, and I was like, you fucking,
That's
but it's old. It's very old at this point.
So I saw you guys messing around. I think it was the Dragoon armor that you're talking about. The Dragoon armor has like a visible belly on the female armor. That's actually very uncommon with the gear in 14. As far as MMOs go, like the gear is actually notably much less sexually dimorphous than you would expect.
Okay.
And they have recently removed a shit ton of restrictions on gendered armor.
Okay.
So like dudes can wear the 2B outfit. Looks
cool. Okay.
terrible.
Sure.
And does not give them the extra legs.
It doesn't give the extra ass. No.
No, it does not. But they can.
Cowards.
No, the real cowardice is they put bunny girls in the game, but they won't put bunny boys.
Sure. It's still the letting the armor look the same across the gamut is that's much better, because I mean, damn, Monster Hunter doesn't even pretend to give a fuck.
Monster Hunter is like the
most extreme. It's the most extreme I've ever seen.
Like you get situations where one armor is fantastic on one and just a dog shit pile on the other.
Yeah, and again, I say, like, it doesn't always have to be like I'm not always fighting for my case here of like, oh, I want to have big armor on a girl. Like the Kirin armor, I think, is wonderful. I think it's really cool style. I actually really, think it works. It's just you don't get a choice. Choice is good. Don't not give choice.
Yeah, I think the male Kirin armor is horrible. For example, the male Kirin armor that has like the unicorn head that covers most of the face, it looks awful.
I don't even remember what it looks like.
I will.
Yeah.
Here, I'm sending you a screenshot, and you're gonna go, ugh, that is bad. Here's a screenshot of both armors.
Yeah, that's stupid. Yeah, that's dumb. Exactly.
Bad, right? Like,
yeah. So that's 100% it. Like, just allow the choice. Anyway, but yeah, not to go on forever, but like all in all, that lore thread was fucking incredible. That was the fourth raid. Was the raid on your brain from that one Twitter thread that we reviewed.
Yeah, you understand what I meant before, that it feels like there's more to do with Nier here than Automata. Like just the amount of like the fact that there are seeds at all.
Yeah, it's Taroverse.
Like,
it's not just like 2B on the cover is, or 2P on the cover is your this is your product, this is your crossover, that's your star, and this is who you recognize. But like this is absolutely
that's your bait.
But this is absolutely referencing and homaging like the entire career of games this guy's put out. So and not only that, but like potentially in an incredibly significant way, given I guess the implications of like that last coin. So
yeah, and
fucking
the next
wow.
And I will echo what some people have said, is that like personally I love this crossover shit and I love digging super deep, and I can't wait for the next game that has nothing to do with any of this shit at all, and will have like a single book in the background of one library that talks about robots. And you'll be like, haha!
Yeah. and I can't wait to be obsessed with those connections as as the thing happening in front of me is there, and it's standing on its own two legs, and God bless it. I'm a fan of it having its its own thing, but like I just can't help but like be like, oh shit, but the tie into this or that or whatever, you know.
You know what you are, Wooly? You're holding a thing that you like and another thing that you like, and people are like, don't you enjoy these things? And you're like, yeah, but what if they kissed? What if they were kissing?
Remember when is the lowest form of conversation, says Tony Soprano. And, man's got a point, but if I'm playing a game that's really good and then they make reference to Accord in it, and I'm like, I liked Accord the first time I saw her. What do you have to say about this thing that I liked?
Hey, let me ask you a question. You say remember when is the lowest form of conversation, but is what if this happened not actually the lower form of conversation?
Not what if yeah, it is. It is, for sure. But that's not what I'm thinking, as much as I'm wondering what happened between now and then. That's what it is for me, right? Yeah. Is because, and I've said this before many times, character plus time is my fucking, like, I'm obsessed with that. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the opposite of your favorite Saturday morning cartoon show where no one ever grows or changes.
Yeah, like one of the most exciting parts of any game to me is like a time skip.
Yes, right? And it allows your brain to dance with the possibilities of what became of each person. And you heard me talk about how fucking incredible it was watching Avatar, as during the show they grow and then off camera they grow. And you get to see, both of those things. It's great. People grow, things change. TV and stories that have been so focused on keeping them the same have been all I've been exposed to as a kid, and it was such a refreshing change of pace when I eventually came across stories where they had the balls to change things, and not just for the purposes of like selling a new form of a toy, but like to show that the character is going to behave differently in a situation now than they would have at the beginning of the show or even the middle.
Yeah, there's a wild difference between, dude, Megatron got hit by a thing, now he's a new toy, and Brother Nier's now an adult.
Right? So
big difference.
So that small little thing, and the fact that like I just saw so few stories changing characters over time, became something that I focused on over time. And like now, when it's like, oh, the prospect of someone you saw in a game, in a moment, in a story, in a movie, and then something else that's tangentially related, but possibly finding out what happened after we stopped following them, is so interesting. I'm like, yeah, what did come of that person? What did they do with the rest of their life? What was it? It's like it's just fucking brain candy to me. So every time these separate stories even hint at these little connections, I really start to zoom in on those points. And I can see how people would be like, dude, you're getting too obsessed with those you're pulling out the microscope where you shouldn't be.
You know what fucking ruled?
That's the reason why.
Junpei's teaching a baseball team. Yukari's a Super Sentai actress?
A Featherman actress, no less. Yeah. Exactly.
Fuck yeah.
Exactly. On that note, if we may deftly transition out of FF14 into what you just said, Punch Bomb started P3 Portable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is doing FemC route.
Yeah. Scumbag FemC.
She'll sell you those pictures.
Dude, she's the best.
She will sell you those pictures. Yeah. I didn't know how much the music changed as well.
Oh yeah.
And I was like getting all ready and hyped up for mass destruction. And then it's like, no, actually, it's a totally different battle theme. And
Wiping all out.
yeah, something like that. And
It's
then
really good.
the music changes a lot. There's massive S-Link changes as well, like humongous differences. And I'm already looking at the game and seeing how different it is just from the fact that there's no 3D environments outside of Tartarus. You're really just
I have a
visual
really
novel backgrounds.
I have a really good piece of advice. And yes, it is a minor spoiler, so don't turn your brain off, but it's very important. I'm going to recommend that imperatively you do not get too far in Ken's S-Link with the female main character. You're not going to want to do that.
Well, I'm not the one in the driver's seat.
All right. I'm just saying things cannot be undone to a degree.
Yeah, again, I'm not the one in the driver's seat, so we'll see where that goes. Or rather, we'll see if that goes, and if it does, then we have some very important conversations to have. But
there's always time to back out now, Wooly.
Mm-hmm. That aside, we do you know if the most important song is still there?
I mean, there are a lot of songs you could.
The last one?
Oh yeah, no, it's there.
You can't fuck with that, please. Thank you. Yeah. It's
biggest,
the
total,
most
the music
important.
Change is primarily like Tartarus and like world based, where they get the most bang for their buck.
Yeah. Okay. Also, the addition of the ability to control directly your party members, always a plus. So that's
makes
very
that game
nice.
Like way easier.
Yep. It makes it more fun, even. So that's nice too. And then just also seeing the chart of relationship differences. It's like half of the game. Like half of the relationships between characters, Femsi versus the original, were just completely different people. A lot of those like random kids you hang out with are replaced with like your gal pals, and obviously the romantic interests as well. And then there's some people I'm just like, I have no idea who that is or what that even means when I see the portrait.
Oh, some of them are new. Like the tennis girl is brand new, for example. Well, I forget her name. It's a Psycho?
No idea, but so no, that's happening, and it's interesting to see like a completely different version of events, kind of, or a different experience at least. That's like that wildly different.
Did you get to the fucking? Did you guys get to the first monthly boss?
Probably not. Like it's just starting out.
Because it like, so Junpei sucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if he sucked way worse?
Nice.
Do you remember do you remember the first the very first monthly boss? He's like crying. He's like, "Why are you the leader? You're not even cool," right?
Sure.
What if in the female main character route, you added just a thick layer of teenage misogyny to that same plot?
he's already dropped on the like, why is she the leader? She's a girl. He's already started up with that. Also the that combined with like hitting on you is always great.
That's such a good combo. Oh, she's so stupid. You want to go out though?
That's a fucking teenage kid. That's a teenage kid.
I knew like 35 Junpeis. I knew so many of that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll see how that shapes out. Also, I'm curious to see if that turns Yukari into your BFF or not. You
God, I
know,
hope not.
I don't know how that's going to play out. So we'll see. But it's interesting. It's a quite refreshing, quite refreshed, I should say, experience. And maybe it's a hint as to why they never did it again, because they remade the game.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of work.
And I think they should consider not doing that. Like, you can just make a selection on the top that then doesn't have to reroute so much of the game.
Yeah, they honestly what they should do is they should just make like a wide variety of. They should have every S link in the game be get the dick or don't get the dick,
Sure.
and then just have a gender toggle.
Um, and then also, like, the fact that there are different answers on different, like, dialogue trees is fun too. But they really could spare themselves the trouble and just make it like, hey, pick one of these two and play the same game effectively, you know?
Yeah.
Astral Chain.
Yeah. No, P3P is like excellent, and it's like very ambitious, and it's why the voices are so loud for a female main character in a Persona game, because we got one and it ruled.
Yeah, also it turns the whole theme the whole color scheme pink and red.
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh, but this game is supposed to be blue." Okay. Well,
All right,
we already did red.
We're getting the most common question we're gonna get about this. Should I play Fez or P3P first for my first time?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That was what I had to figure out, and basically, my suggestion was like go like for Punch Mom. It was like, yeah, go with P3P because one, you get to actually for the first time ever get FMC if you want to, and two, which they never do again, so it's a unique experience. And two, like, you can actually probably get through the game a bit. You can cut down on some downtime going through this long game by just moving through the map in a top view world, select your person version of the game instead of running around a 3D environment. You know, it probably shaves some time off.
P3P without a doubt, because you can control your party, but also the biggest downside of it is that the cutscenes are like horribly ruined, but you can just look those up.
Yeah, excuse me. She went backwards from 5-4-3, right? So, talking about for P1 and 2, of course, like yeah, it's not to imply that it was the first, but for her going through it this way in this order at the very least, which is weird, but also like it is the only reason why like it worked in this way, is because she is playing games for the first time, really. Like, not playing games for the first time, but like going in depth, you know, in this way. And like the mechanics and the difficulty of like, you know, how brutal things would be, like with Demon Fusion, having to look up guides, and like how and how monotonous like Tartarus can get. Like, a lot of that is basically like likely to have her bounce off if she wasn't kind of brought in on the premise when it was streamlined later on, you know? So like starting out with the most like streamlined version of things then allowed her to like it enough and then go, all right, I'm down to try that again, a little more stripped away, and I know the system a bit more, so I can try something a bit harder. And then with 4, that's what it was. But even 4, the intro leading in was so fucking long that like she stopped like twice, I think, and then finally came back to it a third time and went back in. So yeah, it going through it backwards is actually helping Punch Mom get into it, because like the more mechanics that like arrive over time, like rather going through it backwards, the more mechanics you strip away, the she's willing to deal with it after enjoying what she's played so far, you know?
Yeah. I think the farthest you could probably go back realistically is like the Nocturne remaster.
Why would you say like that?
Well, I mean, you're not going to go back to fucking SMT2 or Persona 2. Like that's a whole different planet.
Well, I don't know what she's going to want to do after this. I mean, specifically in terms of like, in terms of her taste and what she's liking, like, who knows, I'm not going to, never say never. Might be, if there's a curiosity there, why not follow through on it? Yeah, so that's happening. And we're allowed to play the games because the store didn't come down, so that's nice.
Don't play them too much on stream, though.
And yeah, in case anyone hasn't caught it, I dropped the latest episode of Guilty Gear Lore. Episode 4 is now available on Wooly Versus. It covers the story of Guilty Gear Vast Edge XT, the pachinko, all the way through Exerd Sign. So that is
how'd you get the pachinko shit?
So there's a lot of like digging that I had to do, and the problem was that at some point it's like, okay, I'm never gonna get my hands on a fucking pachinko machine. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near Japan. What are we gonna do here? Well, it turns out that there is a Japanese iTunes version of the game that you can play on your phones, and that existed, but it no longer exists. But there was a time that it did, and because it existed, there are some direct screenshots and direct feed video of and footage of the game that is out there. But like, I was trying to install Japanese iTunes on a new phone account, trying to download this thing, and unfortunately I couldn't get it. So then the next best thing is just grabbing whatever you can that was like ripped from the game directly, taking a look at promotional material that the company D-Light had put out for the pachinko game at the time, including a live action trailer with someone cosplaying Soul Bad Guy in it. I mean, like, really just digging for that. What else did I do? A lot. I tracked down even just like the old website and all the assets advertising its pachinko mechanics had some art on it. It had some visuals. It had some exploding chains that were usable in different areas. So you do what you can. You dig. You fucking dig. But I did it. I got what I could out of it, and we put it together.
So what would you classify that as Guilty Gear archaeology at that point?
I mean, like, to show off, like, there's a major plot villain of the Guilty Gear story that shows up and dies in this pachinko game, and you can't see any existing footage of the fight except for a really blurry recording of this promotional show with like these like, there's this pachinko promo show where they play pachinko games and they get 4 cosplay girls to come in and go yay and pretend to care about pachinko for a while, and like it's zooming in on like them like cheering and they're playing, and then blurry in the distance is the little screenshot of the game where you can finally see that boss fight occurring. So I'm cropping and enhancing that so that we can see what it looks like to fight this boss, or what it looks like when not that man but the man, as he is called in the pachinko game, shows up, and like, you're just fucking, yeah, archaeology, I guess, is the way to put it.
Yo, this sucks.
Well,
this sounds like shit. This sounds like an arduous and thankless task.
They hired me to do the job. I'm doing the job I was hired to do.
Couldn't they have like sent you assets or something?
I did get some stuff, but I definitely didn't get as much as I needed. Also, and furthermore, I would say that for the well, anyways, I mean, I'm putting in the midnight oil. I'm putting in some fucking hours out of love on this thing because boy, if I was going on some kind of I don't know, wage rate or something. Yeah. I took the opportunity because I love Guilty Gear, and I'm just looking at this like I can't believe the amount of work that I expected of this, and that I said like, yeah, sure, and then what it turned out to be.
I'll bang it out, no problem.
And then what it turned out to be in fucking hour count and you know, translation and I mean just like audio CD. It's yeah. But anyway, it's available now. Go check out episode 4, and yeah, there's some fun stuff in that I you know, I found that I thought was pretty cool or silly, and all of the above. Pointed out a couple of things in that. I dropped a few tweets here and there about some things that I noticed, like yeah, like you see Soul do his dragon install in the pachinko game, and then like he pretty much, once he goes into a unique dragon install form for just that game, he does an attack that looks like he's grabbing you point blank at the screen, which is pretty much the startup of Heavy Mob Cemetery. So I'm like, oh, interesting, because that doesn't really look like anything else that they gave him directly in like Exurd. There's the air grab, but it doesn't look the same. So I'm like, that's almost like they, you know, might have looked at that and went, oh, maybe that thing, you know, or yeah, a couple other little bits and pieces. I mean, you know, it's all there. There's some real like, anyway, there's stuff I can't say that's really funny, but the we're closing in on the catch up to Strive, so check it out. Tell me what you think, and I hope that everyone can make sense of what's going on in the story, and at the very least, like, see it for what it is, and be like, okay, well, you know, this is like, this was a daunting task, and now we have a digestible version of it. Almost there.
What if you don't understand it after watching all of your videos?
That's normal. That's okay. You tried. Watch them again.
Yeah?
Watch them again.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Dude, it's tough. I've been following this series for a long time, and it's tough.
It's harder than you think. It's so difficult. It's so incredibly difficult. Yeah. You know, sometimes you find things and you go like, whoa, look at that. And then you go, hey guys, take a look at this. And then guys go, what the fuck is that?
Who is that?
And I'm like,
who is that?
I don't know, you did this. They're like, oh, okay.
So I gotta ask, once you're done with this, the Guilty Gear series,
yeah,
and, you know, Strive it's out, I assume you'll be moving on to do the video series explaining the plot of BlazBlue.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a number. And yeah. I can write that on a piece of paper and I can slide it across the desk and we'll see what happens.
Then they yell at you to get the fuck out of their office.
Everyone's got a number.
Yeah.
I'm not exempt. Good times. Guilty Gear lore. Played Jackie Chan Fists of Fire, aka the perfect Kusoge.
That's a classic Kusoge.
Yeah, if you want a traditional ass, like, this is the definition of shit game, you need to watch Get Into Fighting Games, Jackie Chan Fist of Fire. It starts out with a really bad audio clip of him saying, "I'm Jackie Chan and this is my game," and then you see 3 or 4 versions of Jackie Chan fighting against like weirdly colored pink, purple, and blue people. Kusoge means shit game.
Literally means shit game.
And this thing it's the perfect level of just what the fuck is happening. But it's
3 characters on that roster are just Jackie Chan in different clothes.
But it's also like insanely fast and nonsensically hyper on the ground. But when you jump, it becomes underwater super slow. So there's all kinds of infinites and bullshit nonsense combos that shouldn't happen. Damage is wild.
We did a Scrubforts on it a million years ago.
Sure did. Every character has a boss version just to make them even stupider and crazier. And yeah, it's and of course there's a Discord community out there that meets up and has tournaments on a regular basis. So it's got all the markings of an FGC poverty classic. You know, this was the game that would often be on after the, grand finals of Street Fighter or Tekken finished. You'd see some people over gathered on a laptop playing some heavy ass Fists of Fire.
Oh man, this thing is garbage. I'm loving it.
Beautiful. So yeah, we went back to examine and see what was going on. And shout outs to some folks from the community reaching out and basically showing off that there is a Discord, there's a wiki, there is a Bible, there is a Jackie Chan Fist of Fire Bible. It's divided into the New and Old Testaments, and you can go diving as deep as you want to find out how these insane broken systems work. So yeah, we keep digging. That's what we do. Not that this is not that deep in the Kusoge pile. It's a pretty popular one, but it's some fucking poverty that's worth acknowledging if no one has seen it or if you haven't heard about it. So bringing that to the masses. And yeah, I guess last thing I want to talk about is a board game. There's a game I picked up a while ago that I never got around to playing called Onitama. It is basically a pretty small and simple game where you are playing what amounts to chess on a smaller board with simplified rules, let's say. And
would you call it chess 2?
Not quite, because I was in the mood to play some board games, right? And what I want to do, what I really like is when we have a game set up and then like me and Punch Mom, we just take turns over the course of however many days or weeks or whatever, playing a game, doing a move at a time, walking by, checking it out, doing a move, Like, I like that. That's a pretty fun thing, and we've done it with Go a couple times, and I wanted to get the game going again. So, yeah, it's fun to come back, make a sandwich and see like, oh, my move, stop and think about it for a bit, and then do my move and then walk away, So this game is perfect because, yeah, the rules are pretty straightforward. You have a 5x5 grid.
Well, that's quite small.
Yep. 5x5 grid. And then you have 5 pieces, right? 4 pawns and then 1 king. You face each other on both sides. And then what you do is you each draw, there's a deck of cards. You pull 5 cards out of the deck, and then you throw the deck away. You each take 2 of those cards, and then you put 1 in the middle. Each card shows you a movement pattern that a piece can do.
Okay, I see how this works.
So basically, the card turns any one of your pieces into, let's say, a knight,
a bishop, or a knight, or
yeah,
absolutely,
right. And then, but instead of being assigned to the unit, it's assigned to the move, which is a card which you play once, and then you rotate it out of the two choices you have. You play it, you move your piece, and then you rotate it to the side, and then you replace that fifth card with the one you just used. Then they take their turn, and then they take the move they just played, put it on the side, and grab the one you did before, and now they have those moves. So you have 5 cards that are 5 moves cycling between you and the opponent, and any of your 5 pieces can do whatever that move entails that one time. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's almost like fights in tight spaces, but with chess instead of fight mans.
I mean, I guess, but you know, in this case, it really is like simplified chess. Like, if you were to take, excuse me, if you were to take, you know, like I said, 4 pawns and a king, and then say that all the usual unit movements are now cards you're holding, and then you have to rotate between 5 of them. And so I get a bishop card and a queen card, and then you have a knight and a rook, and then there's like a pawn on the side card. You know, you can see all of my moves, and I can see all of your moves.
Oh, weird.
Because I know exactly what your limitations are, and you know what my limitations are.
Okay, so I was about to be like, oh, that's really weird. And then I'm like, no, wait, you can see everybody else's possible moves in chess.
Correct. Yes.
Board.
You just look at the board. You know, so in this case, but it's limiting those moves to these sets of cards on a smaller scale. Thus, it's easier to pick up and faster. So yeah, it's really fun. It's quite good. We just completed a game before we started the podcast today. And it was recommended to me as from like one of these board game booths at, I want to say, MagFest the last time we went, and it's fucking great. It's called Onitama. I would definitely recommend if you're in the mood for something light chess, light checkers-ish, but just a different vibe to it altogether. And yeah, you win by either killing the king or putting your king on his throne, which is the starting point of the king.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, that
Onitama.
sounds like I want to go look at what that actually. Onitama, you said?
Yeah.
Onitama. What's that look like? Oh yeah, that's a cute little board. I like
there you
that.
go. Yeah. So anyway, that'll pretty much do it, I suppose.
I want a 2-sentence update on Disco Elysium.
Say one of these communist or fascist things or fuck off.
I knew you would get there.
Like, absolutely no choice on the in-between. You have to, like, they create these, like, be a fucking straw man or die.
Hey man, what can I say? Centrists are losers and the game knows it.
Hilarious. Really fucking funny.
I got to the end of the communist quest line, and like it got to the point where I was like dead-eyed staring ahead, thinking about putting a gun in my mouth. I was just so miserable.
So it
was like just stabbing me so deep.
Yeah. And it's really like like I saw someone say that like everyone that LPs this goes communist. So every like all footage of this being played is just kind of the samey in that way. And I thought about that and I'm like, well, I imagine it would get really uncomfortable really fast if you went fucking alt-right hard on everything.
So the game makes fun of centrists a lot, but the only philosophy it actually goes like, no, you're a bad person by default is the fascist options.
Yeah.
And like they're all like violently like racist. Like nobody picks them on stream because it would just make it uncomfortable and like sad and not fun to play.
So the mug was the first test of sorts, or it wasn't the first, but it was an early test of sorts, and then it's like you can choose what to say about this mug with a racist caricature on it, and if you click the fascist option, the game just goes, oh, you're that kind of cop. Okay. Well, anyway. And it doesn't even reward you.
No.
Right? It just straight up goes, uh-huh. Okay. Well, anyway, then. And it's like, it fucking, like, the narrative is so strong and so verbose, and like it waxes on so many times that like it's so like the harshest thing ever is the narrator effectively being like, yeah, fuck you, I'm not even going to talk to you.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Right.
It's fucking incredible. You know, so given that sort of circumstance and whatnot, you're kind of and of course how much it plays in like a half hour when you go stand before the CEO of racism. You know,
there's
unbelievable.
2 of those.
Yeah, there's the sub boss, and then there's the fucking the
no.
real shit.
Sorry, there are 3.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did you not get that dialogue with Kim?
Which one?
Because you meet the lorry
lucky
driver. I
saw
the lucky.
You
meet the lorry driver.
Yeah. The lucky third. The lucky third.
Yeah.
Racist. Yes. Right.
They will grant you 3 wishes.
So, yeah. All in all, yeah, it fucking continues to be one of the best games I've ever played. What can I say?
It's yeah. I'm getting way in there. I'm like 8-hour one away. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's expanding in all these crazy locations and ways that I'm just not prepared for. It's astonishing. Wooly, you have shivers as you pick shivers as your primary stat, right?
I did.
Shivers is the only mandatory check in the entire game.
Whoa. Really?
Yes.
Huh.
It's a white check, so you can replay it.
That's lucky. Okay. I didn't put enough points into it to experience it as much as I want to, but it just sounded so cool.
It is.
That's all there was behind it. It's just, this sounds like something that will be very cool to experience on a regular basis.
So, oh, by the way, I've built up a lot of stats so I can tell you a more clear way of the way that they work. 4, they will talk to you regularly. At number 4, they will regularly talk to you.
Okay.
At 2, they may occasionally chime in, maybe. And at 6, they are loud.
Okay.
At 8, they are intolerable.
Okay. I didn't know that going in, so
it tends to work on even numbers. So you should get shivers up to 4. Like,
yeah, because we're feeling
you shit all the time.
We're feeling that now, definitely. I
have perception at 10.
Jesus.
And like I want to shut my eyes off sometimes. Like, they won't stop.
Yeah, I think conceptualization is my highest stat right now at 6. I want to get shivers up for sure. And that's why I don't want to, like, I saw advice to saying don't level up until you need to in a conversation. And I hate that. And I'm not going to do that. I have a new
tip that I have learned. Keep 1 level in reserve for when you want to re-roll a check. But otherwise level up, because the passive observations are constant, right? Mm-hmm. At a point where I was sitting on 5 levels, because I talked to Everett, and I just talked and gained 5 levels, and it's like I could hold on to these and re-roll 1 check 5 times, or I could make it so that I have 4 different skills start talking to me right now.
Yeah. And furthermore, I hate the idea of like, well, you might get to do this roll if you want to recheck it, or you're going to miss out, or you can miss out on a bunch of interesting little small checks while the conversation is getting started. And I'm like, I want those small checks. Fuck off, you know? So
Eli went and did a save file with cheat engine called Too High, where I think he put every stat at like 9, and like the description that I saw from his tweet is like the game is like unplayable.
everything just keeps coming up.
Just nonstop.
Yeah, okay.
Forever.
Okay. Man, that's so much writing. This is a one.
Encyclopedia is like the worst one, by the way, by far. By far.
Mm-hmm.
The Encyclopedia has more dialogue. It has like twice as much as any of the other stats to itself. And I didn't know why that was until, again, Eli, our good pal Plague of Gripes, recently told me about a book called what's it called? The Sacred and Terrible Heirs? Help me, someone. The Terrible and Sacred Heirs? The Sacred and Terrible Heirs. I believe that is Sacred and Terrible Heir, right. And it is the book that the author who wrote Disco Elysium wrote before Disco Elysium that takes place in the universe of Disco Elysium.
Oh. Okay.
It is a pre-established fiction.
Huh. The world of Revachol beforehand. Okay. All right.
Yeah. There's only one slight problem. You can't read it.
What language?
Neither can I. Because it's not in English.
French.
No. I think it's like only like Polish or like Czech or something like that.
Okay. Because I'm like, because so much of it sounds French that I was like, yeah, no, well, okay, fair enough.
Estonia.
Interesting. I wonder.
Estonian a language? I don't know. Please don't laugh at me.
Well, I was going to say that this feels like a once per generation style game where like nothing gets this much writing put into it. Nothing.
Only one game ever has ever gotten this much writing.
Planescape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only one.
I mean, this is a very clear example of an author wrote a book and then a game studio took that and went, let's make a game instead. For every moment they went
and
through
then
all
they
those...
voice acted it.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
One of the recent interviews with the narrator, as a guy who's never done voice work before, was eye-opening, and it was the fact that he can't speak any French at all. A detail that by the time I'm at where I'm at now has become overwhelmingly obvious.
Okay.
As the narrator like consistently mispronounces all sorts of shit. And that's fine.
And the other thing too is that I would say that the strength of the prose is like, to me, I used to go on about the way the stories were translated in Lost Odyssey, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like absolutely on that level of like, oh, this is fucking excellent to read. It's a pleasure to read the descriptions of things and places and people, you know?
It also has like the most impressive language options I've ever seen in a game. So you can switch between different languages in the game.
Sure.
I'm loading it up right now to test, by the way. You have English. I want to say there's 2 types of Chinese. I want to say that's Japanese or maybe Korean. Spanish, Portuguese, Brazilian, French, Dutch, and either Polish or Russian. I can't read that last one. But did you notice that the option in the menu is English and?
I didn't look at the menu.
So in language, it's English and you pick a second one. And what you do is say you pick between English and French, and then you load in your game. You hit Q and it swaps languages.
What's the point of that?
I don't know. Yeah, literally, like I can talk to Kim, and then I hit Q once, and it just instantly switches the dialogue box to French.
Is that so that you can play it in a language you don't know and then switch it back to correct yourself?
I guess. That feels like a learning tool.
That's an insane feature. Like that's the only possible reason I can think of. There's no other benefit to that. Wow. Okay.
You think that's like a dev thing that they just kept?
It like there was a quick switch to test localization options, and then I mean, yes, I do, because doing localization testing on a game like that, and this was where Reggie would actually have a better insight because he did language testing way more than I did, but you fucking like anything that a dev tool can help you use to check things in game would be it would shave literally like hundreds of hours off of the task, because first, localization testers will grab an Excel sheet, read all the words, and make sure that the words make sense, are spelled correctly, and everything is, like right. But then you have to see how it implements in-game and make sure that it doesn't have line breaks, typos, incorrect spacing, and other syntax errors. So it's a two-step process, and the second step takes fucking forever, especially in a game with tons of options and branching paths and so on. So you could absolutely save a tester's life by having them press a button to check how everything looks between languages on the fly.
You could totally, like, Japanese isn't currently in it because I assume that translation job is actually the biggest nightmare ever. But once it's in, you could totally use this game to practice your Japanese. Like 100%.
I don't see why not. Yeah, if in theory, sure.
This is the first game in a long time that I've been like, I can't wait to beat this on stream so I can play it again.
I don't see it happening, but I would love if they rolled out some text size support just to make it a little bigger, even, because
you playing on console?
No, playing it on my computer, but it's another situation where we're on the couch and not all text is like, some text is small but legible. Some text is like, that's more than standard, that's fine for the average conversation. For example, I'd say the general text during conversations is normal size, and that's fine. The stuff that is the descriptions of your abilities, of your stats, when you go to the info page, that's where it gets to like 1 degree smaller. Same for when you're looking at internalizing thoughts. So it's like, like the second level of font.
The thought internalizations are the smallest text in the game by far.
I think the stat checks with the pluses and minuses underneath are the smallest, actually.
So I just went in and checked, and it does have text options.
It does.
There are 3 text options.
Dragged it to the highest.
I just checked, and they don't affect all of the parts that you just complained about.
Exactly. They affect the main text you're seeing most of the time. But when you highlight a potential whiter red check, it'll show you the stats underneath to go +1 or -2 to whatever.
Well, they're tiny.
And those are the smallest in the game by far. Like, those are like ridiculously tiny. So that is all stuff that's meant for anyone sitting at a monitor that's right in front of your face at a desk, not for couch play. Yeah, I don't know. I'm right now. It's just I'm in a minority of PC game concerns about like couch play for this stuff, and our setup is such that like the illusion of like what you're watching versus like where we're sitting and how everything is arranged. There's a lot that goes into having the screens and the stream and the audio and the two capture devices and the keyboards and the multiple mice. There's a lot happening behind the magic of such a simple experience to make it seem easy, but it's not as simple as, unfortunately, just scooching the couch up,
It's funny that this is a topic that comes up when we talked about FF14 for so much, because I watched the first one, and one of the first things that Min showed you was you could change the size of the text box for like NPC dialogue. That's a really, really recent change. That the size of text in dialogue only used to be associated with your resolution, and it was like I had to play at 1080p for multiple years because I was playing on a TV, and anything higher than that just went, I literally can't read it at all, and it sucked. They need to decouple those, man.
Yeah. It's a quality of life issue that's a C-class bug that gets fucking ignored for years until someone goes, all right, let's take a look at this minor little fucking scaling thing, and it'll make a couple people happy, and then we'll fuck off, Like, it's minor, but it affects almost every single game I'm playing these days.
Civilization is like the actual worst. Like, because the maximum size is still like laughably small. And then if you go like into the files and you find like the thing, like the percentage integer, you can just change it and it totally works at much, much higher percentages, and you can get it playable, but it's not an option in the game because who cares?
So the other option to solve this would be to just allow modders to do it, but allow the workshop to interface with the game. But obviously not every game's willing to do that.
I'm a big fan of you can scale it as high as you want, but it will break above this number.
Exactly. I'd be more than happy with that. Like, your text will shoot out in weird directions and you will see strange line breaks. But if you want it bigger, we can do that. Like, that's what I would prefer. Yeah. Cool. Well, anyway, that's what's going on. You can tune in for more adventures of that. Disco Elysium. We've got a slot for something new because we played Ghost Runner again, and I was able to finally fix the problems of last time, play the proper PC version.
Oh, thank God.
Did a lot better. Still struggled, obviously, because my own, limitations in the game is a challenge and my aim sucks. But it played and it worked, so we got much further, had a good time. Yeah, we now have a spot, so we'll see, But for now, that's what's going on Woolly Versus, and yeah, again, Guilty Gear Lore available now. Check it out. I'll announce the schedule. I was thinking of taking a couple days. I'm not too sure how we're going to set it up, but as usual, check my Twitter to see what we're doing this weekend or what days will be off, if any, and that'll be us.
Hey, before I start talking about my week, do you mind if we take 5 minutes so I can empty this dog?
Let's do it.
See you in a bit.
BRB. All right. Where were we?
Hey, Wooly, have you heard about dog tweets?
No.
Well, for those of you at home listening to this after the fact, apologies as this is a visual, but on the stream right now, people watching and Wooly himself can see there's a big, stupid, fat dog with his toy and mouth just slapping my keyboard currently. And this is what he likes to do now. He likes to see me playing on my keyboard, and then he takes his toy and slaps my keyboard, leading to unironic, not even joking dog tweets.
Well, why are you not just leaving Twitter on your phone?
Oh, you only do phone Twitter?
I mean, you can avoid your problem by doing that right now.
That's true, but I mean, he also deleted my Twitch schedule last night doing that.
Well,
so if you ever get any really bizarre messages that are like a bunch of scrambles for me, Wooly, it's probably this dum-dum.
yeah. What about the ones before he was around?
The ones that are randomly scrambled nonsense?
It happens.
Yeah, those are probably cat tweets,
Okay,
which have decreased since the dog is slapping his toy onto my keyboard. I love you, but get the fuck out of my face. Goodbye.
right. So,
All right.
plausible
Aside
deniability pets. Got it.
Yeah, that's right. Aside from Disco, the only thing of note that I really want to talk about this week, I mean, I've been playing Nier. Hey, guess what? It's Nier. It's still Nier. It's the Nier that it was, but it's newer. Is Returnal. Returnal came out on the PS5.
Yes. So that is the game that I mixed up with the other thing the other week ago. And I was like, is that the one with the Brienne? I believe I called it.
Right.
And I was like, remember?
Right.
Yeah. This is the game this is the one with the Brienne.
Yeah.
And it's the house mark. So that's good.
Yeah.
That looks really cool. And I was very much looking forward to jumping on it. And I was actually going to play it yesterday. But I was too tired. But I did buy it for a whopping $80 Canadian.
Yes.
So what the fuck with the price of that game?
Well, this is Housemarque, so they made Super Stardust HD, and then they made Resogun. And man, Resogun is excellent. And they have decided that they want to break new ground by making the world's first AAA roguelike. Because that's what that game is. So that is a run-based game. Like, you go on runs with randomized locations and pickups and weapons. But it is the AAA.
It's gorgeous.
In that it is the best looking game on the PlayStation 5. The particle effects in particular are out of control. It has the best use of the DualSense, like the fancy rumblies, right? The fact that it's a roguelike and it uses the SSD means they can load in these like super gorgeous environments super fast. It plays just like Control, but much better.
Okay.
It is like the same buttons and layout as Control, all the way down to the dash being on circle.
This is all very exciting. I can't wait to play it. Why the fuck is it so expensive?
Because it's a AAA video game, like a regular video game.
Other games I've purchased have cost not that much money.
$79.99. That's what Demon Souls cost.
Let me take a look.
I'm looking up right now. Demon Souls PlayStation 5, $89.96 on Amazon. Returnal, $89.96 on Amazon. That is totally the price of the video games. in Canada.
Just gonna check out my purchase receipts in my email.
I believe that might be a Sony price.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, go on while I'm digging here, but it just I feel like I raised an eyebrow at the costs.
Yeah. Well, also, this is the first roguelike that I want to say has ever cost more than $30. Like the game's immediate comparison is to Hades, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the prior like fancy built up roguelike. And in terms of how do I put this? I think Hades looks better in its stylization, right? But I would not even doubt for a second that Returnal is giving you the most graphics. I don't think it has the best look, but it is definitely having the most graphics of any roguelike I've ever seen in terms of particles and textures and lighting and all that. And it really looks stellar. And it plays stellar. Like the movement and the shooting and all that feels excellent. It also has, which is great because we just complained about RE8 last week with the DualSense triggers. It has the best use of the DualSense triggers I've seen so far, by far. Your left trigger is you hold it down a little bit, and at the halfway part, it has a really hard chunk. Like getting it that last 50% is a full extra button press, right? And the first half is aim, and then the second half is switch to alternate fire. So
okay.
So aiming and shooting and then switching to alt fire doesn't require you to move any of your fingers.
Now there's no buttons on the controller that are free for the real estate of that function?
No. Triangle is pick up, X is jump, square is melee, circle's dash. You can, however, if you desire, switch it to secondary fire is just R1.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the sound of that. I'd have to try it, but two functions on the same button that are essential.
I really like it, but you can totally just switch to a different button.
I mean, I kind of think, like, if you run out of space and you've used every other one of the 14 options you could have, then sure. But, I mean, is it really using every other button?
No, I'm telling you, literally option 2 on the controller select is R1 is completely free.
Yeah,
so just put alternate fire to R1.
Okay, but the default they went for is this function.
Yeah,
okay.
I personally really like it, but you can change it in a second if you desire. It is one of the weirdest games I've ever played. It is, yeah. I think you were the one who invented the term the gumbo game for Sony first-party games.
Sure.
It is definitely that, but the things they put into the gumbo are not things that I expected, even though I was like kind of looking at the game from like a side eye. I was like, yeah, I'll play that when it comes out. So it is a third-person shooter a la Control. Yeah, Control is the easiest by far because you have... it just feels that way. And it's weird because Housemarque is also Finnish. So I guess the Finns just really know how to do third-person shooting real good, fun, excellent. And you have jump, you have dash, you have consumable items that do the normal. Some of them act like spells or like a ground spike or whatever. A lot of them are healing items or like, turn off turrets in the area, that kind of thing. And you have a melee, which is really strong, which is incredibly strong. It usually kills enemies in a single hit kind of melee. And the enemies are shmup bosses.
Yeah, I saw the footage of the bullet patterns and the dodging and the extreme... like it was like a 1v1 giant arena and humongous waves of like bullet patterns to dodge.
Yeah, so the bosses are straight up bullet hell. And the regular enemies are run everywhere from regular normal ass third person shooter enemy that fires like a burst of pellets at you to the big rushdown kind of gorilla beast monsters that like they do a big leap attack and then you have to dash out of the way. Well, when they land, they create like an expanding circle of damage that you have to leap over.
Okay. Yeah, when I saw some of the footage, I was thinking of Fury.
Yeah, that too. And they're mixing and matching these things, and it's super weird. Especially since so much of the game's flow is predicated on keeping your multiplier up. So every 3 enemies that you kill, you get 1 on your multiplier. And the first is you have a easier active reload. The second is you can see enemy locations through walls. The third is a melee attack, which does twice as much damage. The fourth is you gain weapon experience twice as fast. And then the fifth is you gain double money from everything you kill. But if you take a hit, multiplier goes down to 0.
Okay.
So it is extraordinarily emphasizing perfect play.
How quickly are you getting stronger between each run?
Not very. So the difference between a rogue-like and a rogue-lite has always been the difference between permanent power upgrades. There are very few permanent power upgrades in this game. The only significant source of permanent power is when you get let's say, a machine gun. It will have a secondary trait, like rising pitch, which means the longer you hold the button, the faster it'll fire, right? So if you use that gun for 15, 20 kills, you'll unlock rising pitch on it, right? Now, in the future, if you ever pick up a machine gun that has that trait, you will just use it. And so it will be stronger, right?
Okay.
And the way it works is you gain proficiency as you kill enemies, which is your essentially experience. And at level 5 experience, it gets a second trait. At level 10 experience, it gets a third trait, etc. Right? So that's the weapons get more powerful. That's almost it. Aside from that, you are unlocking things that can be there. You're unlocking items that fill up
now exist in the world. Yeah.
Right? Now, some of those are more powerful. In fact, some of them are very powerful, and the fact that you've added it to the pool is great. But in terms of permanent power, it's like 80-90% you have learned to shoot these guys good.
Okay. And are you going like room to room, kind of like a chalice dungeon or BPM, where you're like scouring an entire area before you take on a boss?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is 100% the traditional roguelike structure of you have rooms that are a set room layout, but they've been mixed and matched in their generalness. And the secret wall may or may not be here this time, or there may or may, and the items are all scrambled, and the items that you get are all scrambled. And it has 2 like item mechanics. One is something called malignancy, where items could be purple, and you can pick them up, but they can damage your suit, and they'll do stuff like when you get hit, you'll lose money until you shop twice or something like that. And so it's a risk reward of whether or not you should risk malignancy and getting all the items or not.
Okay.
And then the other is something called parasites, where they will give you a buff, but they will also give you a debuff. So one that I see often and I never pick up is huge increase to your max health, but adds 3 extra seconds to your dash and melee cooldowns. It's like, I will not pick that up. Ever.
Okay.
Right?
But
then you'll get one that's like, will save you from a killing blow, And it doesn't matter what the fucking downside is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'll save you from a killing blow. Right? And then there's there's all the traditional things, like there's the healing bed that you'll find, or the bed that gives you the artifact, or roguelike shit.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I need to let the cat downstairs. He's mad that I put the gate up. Excuse me. Elmo!
Okay.
Elmo, I'm so hurry.
No time to hit the break button on that one, so I guess we're just rolling with it.
Fine, he's down.
Okay. Did you play Resogun?
I did.
Did you like
The
it?
multiplier system in Resogun is really similar to this.
Okay.
And yeah, I liked it. Resogun fucking rules. In fact, I kind of want to play Resogun right now that you mention it. I would say that the game is excellent overall. I've been playing it nonstop. There's just... There's two big problems, right? Actually, I'd say three big problems.
Okay.
One is, while the story is super cool, it's very, like, Eldritch Nightmare, Geiger, space shit.
The art seems to imply that at the very least, which is rad, yeah.
Yeah, enemies are infected by what appear to be tentacles. Like, tentacles is a big fucking thing.
Okay.
The way the story is told is through audio logs, but if you get stuck on a run and you can't get past, like, the second level, audio logs don't keep showing up because there's only so many. So I hit, like, a 2-3 day period where I got zero story at all.
Wait, so like if you get the first audio log, then the next time you do a run, that first one won't appear anymore. It'll only be the second one.
Because you already have it. You can go look at it in
But
your
will that
options.
second one appear in the first area?
No, there's audio logs for the first area, the second area, the third area, the
And
fourth
you have
area,
to
the
get
fifth
to,
area.
yeah, okay, I gotcha. Okay.
Right? And so you end up in this situation where it's like, I played it for like 12 hours and got literally no story.
Oh,
which
shit.
was kind of a bummer.
Because you were stuck doing the difficult
Because I just
run.
couldn't break through to that.
Right, okay.
And then I broke through to that third one and couldn't reach the third level again for a while. Second thing, it's not... While it plays excellently, and the story when you get into it is fantastic. In fact, the transition from Act 1 to Act 2 is like A+, one of my favorite story sequences in years. It's not a very good roguelike.
Uh-oh.
Like, the items that you pick up, like the things that change your run, are pretty... They're not very flashy. They're like... One of the ones that they're like... health upgrades will give you more health. Or... decreases your alt fire recharge.
It's just subtle gun modifiers?
A lot of them are pretty weak. And I don't mean weak in terms of, like, not strong. I mean, like, uninspired. Like, a lot of them are very standard.
Are they subtle gun modifiers mostly? Or, like, are you
subtle
getting...
gun and health and stuff modifiers. There's a couple that are excellent that are, like, the strongest one that I found in the entire game is regenerating health at low health.
Okay.
Like, that is the strongest one I have found, and it's one that I got on my first run, and I have gotten it once since, and it carried me right through.
So, Hades, you pick a weapon, and then you go out and you get some boons that are going to change your shit up dramatically. And you'll find a favorite and you'll stick to it. A run of Isaac, you'll just have a crazy...
It's completely different
nonsense, right? I think, and then I was gonna say, Dead Cells, is a nice, like, okay, you're gonna grab a weapon here. You don't know what you're gonna get, but like these two weapons are gonna again drastically change the flow of this game of your gameplay here. Like if you're gonna go with a hammer and a kunai, you're gonna have a completely different game than if you were to just go with anything else.
Yeah. So a really good example is Hades here. So Hades, you pick the sword, right? You have your 5 different types of swords, right? And then you have all the boons that modify the behavior of that sword, right? In Returnal, you have, I think it's 8 or 9 weapons, and they all function very differently. There's the grenade launcher, there's the machine gun, there's the pistol, there's the shoddy, right? Let's take the shoddy for an example, right?
You start with the same one every time?
You start with a pistol every time, and then you pick up the
rest, yeah. Okay.
Anything out there. Let's take the shotgun, for example, because it's the easiest to describe, right? So the shotgun has a trait that gives it a really narrow cone, or a really wide cone, or it fires a slug, or it can do more stagger damage, or what have you, right? But at the end of the day, unless you get a really fortuitous combination of traits, it's pretty much going to be the same shotgun you're using 90% of the time. It does not significantly change how it fires. The only ones that change the way the guns like really feel and act are the ones that take the rocket launcher from like a burst fire weapon to like full auto, or slow down the machine gun from a rapid fire to like almost semi-auto. And so it's like the guns feel excellent. It's some of the best shooting ever, genuinely. But you're like, yeah, roguelike. Oh, I can't wait to see how the weapons it's the weapon feels like the weapon feels like the weapon.
Okay. So in none of your runs did you ever feel that like, oh fuck, I got a busted run this time, right? Which feels great in those other games.
In fact, it's the opposite. Most runs I felt like, oh, I have a busted run this time. Whereas a couple runs, I'm like, this is a really good run. But most runs, you pick up an item and you go, that's not very good. And you pick up a second item, you're like, that's okay, I guess. And you pick up a gun that has a decent trait, right? Everything's kind of normal.
Okay.
Nothing's so powerful and zany as to go like, yeah, there's a couple weapon traits that are like excellent. And if I see them, I pick them up every time. But most of them they're fine. Not a whole lot of it stands out.
Okay. Yeah.
And
all right.
It's kind of a bummer.
Rate of fire increases or decreases and slight range changes.
It's like it does more damage per shot, but it fires more slowly, so you don't have to reload as often.
Okay.
So it ends up being a reload speed increase. So and that combines with the game's biggest problem by far, not even close. Wooly, you've beaten Hades, right?
Not yet, actually.
Oh, you've never cleared Hades?
No. I was playing it. I understand that they've made it a lot easier now. I've been told, but I was playing it many versions ago, and I got to Elysium and but I didn't beat it yet. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a roguelike that you are familiar with that you have beaten?
Isaac.
You've beaten Isaac?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long does it take to beat a round of Isaac?
That run? How long did that take? I don't know. It's been a long time. It was a while ago.
Okay, so it's about 40 minutes. Right? An Isaac run is 30 minutes to, at the absolute top, if you go through all the secret levels, like an hour. Right? Hades is about 45 minutes. Gungeon runs from 40 minutes to an hour. This is about the average length of a roguelike like run, right? If you go through a full run of Returnal, it takes almost 3 hours.
Okay.
The run where I beat level 3 because once you beat the second level, you can go straight to level 3 if you want. You can do 1-3 instead of 1-2-3.
Oh,
but the one that
Th-
The one that I actually beat, where I went 1, 2, 3, took almost 3 hours.
Okay. That's almost
And
always a bad idea because you're starting underpowered. So.
yeah, because you don't get all the upgrades you would from the second.
Mhm.
And there's 6 levels in the game. So the way that it works is they don't make you ever do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because that would be like a fucking 6 to 7 hour run, right?
Oh, okay.
You do 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 3, and then you do 4, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, or 4, 6.
I sorry. Can you re-explain that? I don't understand what you
Like
mean.
once you get to the 4th level, you start at the 4th level going forward.
You never go back to the
Yeah,
the start
you're never
point.
doing a 1 to 6 level run.
Okay. And starting from that halfway point at your weakest state is still
No,
fine.
they level you up a good deal.
Okay.
But
all right. Yeah, as
but
long
it's
as you're
like,
stronger. Yeah. Okay.
here's the thing: I don't like the 4th level as much as the first one.
But now you're stuck.
I don't like the 5th level as much as the second one.
Ah. Okay. Okay.
Right? And like it's just like there's a reason why there's a big kerfuffle on the official subreddit for that game about saving the game, because it's so like runs are so long. And I had a run that went over 2 hours and I just fell off a cliff and died. I just dashed wrong and died. And I felt like I had wasted half my afternoon.
Do you ever stop your runs midway and when you're playing a roguelike and come back to them later?
I do.
Because I do that a lot, actually. Sometimes when, like, I'll hit a point where I'm like, okay, let me just get one more, because that's what, of course, what the game is designed to do. And, yeah, I'll get a good run going and I'll be like, I feel particularly good about this one. I want to make sure I stop here and come back to it when I feel like like I can actually pull this off. So I will have a lot of games like that. So breaking it up is kind of what I do anyway. So I feel as if that's not that bad of a thing. No, that's not that bad of a length for me, at least, based on how much I break these up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, to do
say.
that every time in one sitting, if you feel like you're going to actually clear it, is perhaps a bit much.
And then they say, like, when you start the game up, they're like, hey, if you want to stop your run, put the PS5 in rest mode. And it's like, well, what if I want to play something else? No, just put it in rest mode.
There's
like
no, there's no like
no
state.
save. They go, well, we don't need a save game because you just put it in rest mode. And why would you play anything else? It's like, come on.
Okay, so this needs to get patched up a bit. All right.
There's a kerfuffle, so they've talked about like, okay, maybe we'll add a save game thing. And it's just like, it's a really excellent game that I'm loving playing, but it has serious problems. Like, I very, very much would like the game to just go a little more out of its way with its items.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an approach they're taking, which is like, this is a tightly designed shooter, then a lot of that will be like the good feelingness of that will be like tied to not getting too crazy, I suppose.
Yeah.
I kind of have come to appreciate and learn over like having played a couple of these now that it's like no, there's a way to keep it tight and balanced and not be too nuts. But yeah, some of the wackiest fun I've had in any of these games we've discussed is when you get a build that just like you get 2 things or 3 things that just work insanely well together, and you just kind of God blast your way through this one lucky run.
So I guess
those are good
I guess
feeling
the
things.
easiest, I guess the way that I could describe it in the easiest possible terms is that on the roguelike genre, this game is the 100% complete opposite of Isaac in every single category.
Huh. Okay.
Whereas
Okay.
Isaac is a flash game, this is the most expensive 3D effects-driven AAA game ever made. Whereas Isaac has a shit zillion item combinations that make even moving or shooting completely different, like a totally different game. Returnal is you're moving and shooting the same the whole time.
Okay.
Whereas Isaac doesn't explain anything to you. There are detailed notes for every single item's effect in Returnal.
So
That kind of thing.
at the base level, like if you're down with some solid shooting, this is going to give you that, but
Oh yeah,
lean into it for the shooter aspect, not the
100%.
rogue aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bummer. Like, and it's one of those things. I understand that it's a little unfair to compare any new roguelike to something like Isaac or Gungeon, because Isaac and Gungeon have had like Gungeon's had 3, Isaac's had like 5 like expansion / updates where they add like 70 new items and a bunch of new
Of course,
mechanics and
they're
another
further along
4
their
and all
development
that.
cycles.
But because this game's so expensive and because runs are so long that you often don't even see even half of the game's levels in a single run, I can't see much value in like an expansion where they go, hey, we added 3 new levels. And it's like, yeah, but you're not going to add those levels to your run. You're just going to move on to the next series of new levels kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, even BPM, which I went back to a couple times off stream, like there was a couple runs where first level just got lucky and found a super gun, you know, and and you kind of just be like, you're like, okay, well, like this is going to melt that first boss, or at the very least get me up to where I was struggling, no problem, the next time. And what was it in Hades? I think it was like I took like spear and I got like armor piercing, stagger on like almost every hit, and then the lightning strikes would hit every enemy around it in a like recast pattern,
yeah.
And I was just like, oh fuck, just everything's dead, like melting, and you just kind of have those lucky rolls of the dice,
Yeah, the Returnal really desperately needs the equivalent of the Daedalus hammers. Right? The Daedalus hammer in Hades, in which you pick it up and you go, your 3-hit combo has been replaced with one big chop.
Mm-hmm.
Or instead of firing one shield, you'll throw 5, but they take longer to get back to you. There's nothing of that equivalent.
Is there like you said, there's
Returnal.
melee? I mean, is there like any like fun happening around that aspect of the game, or are they just...
you hit square and you do a melee swing and it kills the guy you're looking at.
Are there builds that are like leaning towards
No,
melee?
I just told you what melee is.
Okay, all right. No trading
Melee
off your gun
is...
for like a better melee or a crazy...
No, if you hit rank 3 on your multiplier, your melee does more damage.
Okay.
And there are items that are like better melee, or when you kill an enemy with melee, they explode into homing missiles or something like that.
Yeah,
But,
okay,
like,
no, that's what I'm talking about. Good, yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
That's one of the really good ones that I really like. There are very few of those. It's kind of a bummer.
Okay.
It's weird. The story's really drip fed. I really like it. Like, I was just complaining that I wasn't getting enough story earlier because of the run structure, but like the story that is going on is excellent. It's real space nightmare. And it has a fantastic Act 2 segue that like makes the game way better.
It's weird though, in the sense that like I get that vibe from the atmosphere, because all of the footage, screenshots, and promo material is like, yeah, dark space horror, spacesuit lady walking around, but then these weird, creepy alien, foreign-looking beings, like whatever alien-looking beings, are shooting out giant pink lasers and giant purple bullet patterns at you. So like there's an aspect of like, okay, well now it's doing its big video game attack. You know, the big scary monster is turning hard video game for a minute, you know?
Yeah,
So,
it's like you see this cool eldritch tentacle man, and then he turns around you and starts pulsing out red jumpable lasers.
on the ground, exactly.
And
skipping
you're like,
rope things.
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, yeah, you're going to Toho for a little, and then you're going to go back to being scared.
Yeah, the game's excellent, but it's like part of me wishes it was a way simpler game so that the itemization could be way crazier, and part of me wishes they just made a goddamn third-person shooter. Like it feels like trapped in between the two genres.
I mean, if they just made a 6-hour first-person or third-person shooter, like if they just did what was the fuck it called? The other PS4, the ignite the shots, kill the monsters, old black and white. God,
I'm blinking here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Special gun, shoot the powder out, ignite the powder to kill the bad guys.
Order 18, whatever.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah,
right. If they just did a tight 6 to 7 hour thing of that.
Yeah, the difference was that game kind of sucked and the shooting wasn't very good. If they made like a Control or an Alan Wake, yeah, no, that game would have been like aces.
But you wouldn't have been playing it for as long. You wouldn't want to spend as much time with it. It would have been a bit more dry.
That's true. But I also wouldn't be complaining as much.
Okay. Well, I did spend the money, so I do want to sit down and fucking play it. And I do like the non-commitment side of like playing a good roguelike, because you don't have to worry about, well, in this case, if I can't fucking save it, that's not great. But in many cases, I like the ability to be like, okay, well, I'll just play for a bit, and if I die, then that'll be my half hour, and I'm
the other issue is the game's really difficult.
That's fine. You learn, you know.
Oh, yeah, no, but it's like when you're playing Gungeon and Gungeon's really difficult, to get back up to level 3 in Gungeon takes 12 minutes. It doesn't take 90 minutes.
And you're also seeing a bunch of different first bosses.
Yeah, there are 6 bosses in this game.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, but yeah, more wacky is always.
You'll very much enjoy it. I really like it.
Is always fun.
It's just that like maybe I'm too hard on it because I just went through like a roguelike sprint and played like dozens of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like it's not using the aspects of its own genre to the maximum, basically. If it was, it'd be a 10 out of 10 bordering on 11. But as it is, it's like a good 9er. That's my review of Returnal.
For the price, it fucking better be.
Yeah. I have a schedule up this week where it's lots of Disco and Nier and Resident Evil 8. It's tentative as shit because I'm getting my 5G tomorrow. But I don't know how it will affect me. It could be totally fine. It could be totally not fine at all. And I don't know when I'm getting Resident Evil 8 either. And I don't know if I'm going to beat Disco Elysium tomorrow or the day after. So over at twitch.tv/PatStaresAt, there is a schedule. It is subject to change on a moment's notice this week.
All right. We'll see. Now there's some shit going down this week, and
there's a lot of shit going down this week.
There is, and like let's attempt to, get out of here in a timely fashion. But
as you start to describe that, I will go and put food into my dog.
Okay. Well, for starters,
I'm becoming far pet now.
I'm looking at this docket. It seems as if we are going big news on all the big companies. So before we get into those, let's start out small, shall we? We'll start. there's a new 17-minute trailer for Lost Soul Aside, and it looks fucking incredible.
Which one is that again?
Lost Soul Aside was the game that was being made by one guy. It's a character action style thing.
Chinese one?
It was China, and it was,
that game was great.
Black-haired main character doing wild DMC shit. Big appearing and disappearing blades, Noctis style. And yeah, it was real pretty. And then this new trailer showed up, and there's some new news about the production of the game that has changed. But more about that after a word from our sponsors, because we have to take those, and we should not forget to take a word from our sponsors.
Did you fucking forget?
Hey, chat's got me. We're all good. Appreciate you. Look, man, I'm a little not 100% today. So, this week the podcast is sponsored by Bombas, the socks. You know the deal. If you don't know the deal, no, you don't know the deal. I have to teach you the deal. That's why we're doing this. It's about high performance socks keeping your feet comfortable and supported. You have garbage on your feet right now, probably. Take a look at it. It's trash. You want better socks in your life. When you have
I got like a bunch of splinters and rocks in my feet because I don't wear socks.
When you have a nice pair of socks on your feet first thing in the morning, right? Or you step out of your shower and you put on a nice, tight, clean pair of socks and they feel good. It'll just change your whole mood. It'll change everything. And Bombas is making socks that absolutely bring you that feeling, because they're the most comfortable socks you've ever worn. Special Hex Tech performance technology. They're putting research time and science into their socks. Moisture wicking yarn, temperature regulating vents, cool air flow in, overheating prevention. These are words that sound like I'm describing an F1 car, but I am not. I'm describing socks. It's wild. Pillow-like tab to save you from blisters. Yeah, you could. And not only do you have all of that amazing technology going on your feet, you've got different styles for every specific sport or design feature that you enjoy. Comfortable no matter what you're doing, looking kind of stylish while you're at it. And for every pair you buy, they donate a pair to someone in need. They've donated over 45 million pairs so far. They got a Mother's Day collection that you can get going on, ready to gift sock boxes as well. So yeah, you got options coming up for Mother's Day.
And this is where I gotta give a big shout out to Bombas for reminding me that Mother's Day exists and is soon.
Indeed.
Thanks, Bombas.
Well, you can thank them by going to bombas.com/superbeast today, getting 20% off your first order. That's BOMBAS .com/superbeast for 20% off. Bombas.com/superbeast. Thanks, Bombas.
Thanks, Bombas.
This week, we're also sponsored by the folks over at Raycon, who are trying to cut wires out of your life. And
get wires out.
If you still are living a life tied down by tethers, wires, I want you to take a look at the wires attached to you right now and think about them as chains, because that's what they really are. They're chains that are holding you back. They're restricting your freedom. You need wires out, wireless in, freeform, moving, good sound quality, and of course, comfort. And you don't want them at a ridiculous, overpriced premium earbud brand. So yes, release the astral chains that are holding you down and get into a good pair of Raycons today. Makes all the difference. You're talking up to 6 hours charge time, built with you on the go, seamless Bluetooth pairing, compact charging case. It's a small little like black sleek design to it, and you just get them in your ears and they're comfy and good to go. And of course, without overcharging like the rest of that competitive market, you can get into a pair of Raycons. Get the wires out. Listen up. Raycon's offering 15% off all their products, and our listeners can go to buyraycon.com/superbeast, and you'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order. It's a good deal, so you can grab a pair and a spare. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/superbeast. BUYRAYCON.com/superbeast. Thanks, Raycon.
Thanks, Raycon.
Last but not least, we're sponsored by Imperfect Foods. As we've discussed a couple times in the past, there's a lot of waste out there, a lot of grocery stores that take a perfectly good article of food and sustenance and they chuck it in the trash with no remorse because it just happens to look a little weird.
It's very sad.
You know, one time I saw them doing layups and dunking, trying to get windmills and alley-oops as they wasted all that food. It's ridiculous. You'd think your local grocer would be a little more conscientious about it, but they're out there celebrating.
No, they're scumbags. Your local grocer is a scumbag.
They're celebrating. One time I saw them launch up some fruit and then bicycle kick it right into the trash. No remorse, and it was perfectly good. Perfectly good to go. Where's this going? This is going in the way that, imperfect foods are still good, and you can get foods that are less wasteful delivered to you. Food of every shape, size, and physical appearance after billions and billions of pounds go to waste every year. You can help and get your groceries with this mission of being less wasteful. Sustainable.
Listen, man, food's gonna look the same after it's in your mouth.
Yeah, the shape doesn't matter. You know, so you can head on down to the grocery store and see them chaos dunking their food that's perfectly good into the trash, or you can check out Imperfect Foods, and where they can set up a personalized grocery plan. You can shop online each week, get the affordable, sustainable groceries you need straight to your door, and they're adding new discoveries and tasty things for you to try each week as well. They got produce, quality protein, eggs, dairy, pantry staples, all of that stuff as you need it. Fits seamlessly into your life. So sign up for Imperfect Foods and save time and money and save food from going to waste. Right now, they're offering our listeners 20% off plus free shipping on your first order when you go to imperfectfoods.com and use promo code SUPERBEAST. Try Imperfect Foods now for a limited time. Get 20% off plus free shipping on your first order. That's imperfectfoods.com use promo code SUPERBEAST to sign up. Last time, 20% off plus free shipping. Imperfectfoods.com. Offer code SUPERBEAST. Thank you, Imperfect Foods.
Thank you, Imperfect Foods.
That was imperfect, what you said there.
It was, but it still worked.
Embrace imperfections. Lost Soul Aside has changed. It was a game being made by one dude, and it looked pretty hot. It was a project that he had been clearly doing as almost like a one-man character action pet project and it was just more stylish and awesome than a lot of shit we'd seen out there, but it still felt like one of those Twitter projects where you'd see footage of something that someone was developing on their own, and you're like, one day we'll hopefully get to play this, but I don't know when. Like, there's that other game with the guy who's holding a stop sign, and I'm like, man, that stop sign thing looks really cool. I've seen a lot of rad combos. I hope I can play it someday. But until then, in my head, it's just that cool stop sign game, you know? Lost Soul Aside was that really pretty FF-looking characters, but not an FF character action thing. Well, now it seems as if the... Wow. I mean... It almost could sound like you or your stomach were just dying a little bit and then tooting out a little fart after a big grumble in your gut.
Yeah.
It's like you had a big grumble in your gut and then you tooted out a little bit.
A little bit.
A little toot.
We're talking about the
ending with a poop. So the Lost Soul Aside footage is showing off now that apparently this dude is no longer alone. He's got a team of, I think, 20 or 30 people. There's a studio now backing him up. And, this is a new Chinese studio has opened. What is the name of it? Let me pull it up real quick. It's also gotten... we haven't seen it in a while, but it seems like it's come quite a long way because there's a lot more... shown between the boss fights. There's a whole like surfing section and a bit of a level. The studio is now Ulti-Zero Games is the name, and it's showing off. You know, there's just particles out the ass. The first fight is with a rival type character that is just dropping golden summon swords all over the place, and it's honestly one of these games where you're like, just off in this 17 minutes, I get the same feeling as like that what was it, like I think Wukong was the name of the other crazy pretty game we saw.
Oh, was it Black Wukong?
Well, yes, something like that. And there was another one too where you're just like, man, there's like a Project D, I think it was, where you're just like, okay, really high expensive looking game, very pretty, flashy as fuck, probably going to be a little too high octane at points, because there's parts in this sequence where I think like the second boss that shows off at the end of the 17 minutes is like one boss monster thing attacks the character and then runs away quickly, and then immediately another set of monsters and a floating ship from the outside that's a third party start attacking, and the character styles on them, and then a statue in the middle breaks open, and then that becomes the real thing to fight. And it's like there were 4 separate big style moments happening within about 15 seconds of each other, and it's just a lot. There's a lot going on.
The video cannot handle it.
But yeah, it shows off like a pretty cool move list. At the very least, you're seeing primarily 2 weapons, a fast sword and a giant slower one, both of which have like Devil Sword Dante trails that kind of come after them. You can at one point he pulls up a shield. There's a dodge button which seems to have a just frame slowdown on when you use it right before you get attacked. A couple of moments look like there's pre-canned combo sequences, a bit like Dance Macabre. But all in all, it's fucking gorgeous and very cool. Check out the 17 minutes that the IGN put up for Lost Soul Aside. It's come a long way too. It was really gorgeous when we first saw it, but now it looks even better. Yeah.
I eagerly await it to come out on Steam, and then we forget about it.
Yeah, no, I feel as if I am not going to do that. Yeah, there was Claws as well, and they're doing a bunch of drive, overdrive style shots as well. Like the move list looks like it's going to be pretty in depth. I can't wait to see how they explain what the control scheme is going to be for this, because there's just like tons of switching and weapon switching going on in each fight. Yeah, cool. Glad to see that's getting an upgrade. as well.
Really? Holy shit, I have breaking news. I have just been invited to a private online meetup with YouTube creators where we can talk about improving our YouTube channels with the power of cryptocurrency.
So anyway,
It's
toys for
totally not a scam.
Toys for Bob has fucking taken a beating, and it seems as if many have been released from the studio, and those who haven't are now going to be developing support for Call of Duty Warzone. So Activision done it again, and that's a bum.
How many people do they need? Like, I think the part that I don't understand is they keep taking studios and then turning them into Call of Duty support studios. But like, does just adding more people to that game infinitely do something?
When you type the words Call of Duty into Google, the first result is callofduty.com that says Call of Duty registered best-selling video game franchise. Experience Call of Duty, the world's best-selling video game franchise. That sentence implies that no amount of staff you shove at it could be enough. No amount of studios you kill and throw into the blob.
Also, you know what I'm thinking? I bet they burn a bunch of people out. Like, I bet the turnover rate is such that, like, every couple of years, they're like, we need to feed it a new studio.
Mm-hmm. It's hungry. The beast needs more. Not everyone makes it, of course. Some get cast off and released, as happened here. But
undigestible.
Yeah. If you're a Spyro or a Crash fan, pour one out.
What a it's just such a bummer.
It's Activision. It's Activision. What's new under the sun, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
But what has happened is, although there was like a hint of it. I didn't throw this on, but I saw like something implying that like Bobby Kotick took like a pay cut or something like that. But it's like it's like a gesture because he's still mostly made up of shares. So
yeah, he took a pay cut to his salary.
Yeah,
but he still makes most of his money off of the bonuses from his shares.
So so it's ultimately just a gesture of meaninglessness.
It's totally meaningless.
On the other end, apparently a CD Projekt employee has told Jason Schreier that following the Bloomberg report and many internal reviews and complaints, the company did a salary reevaluation and bumped up wages for some of the company's lowest paid staff, including QA.
Well, that's appreciated.
That's good.
After they made them fall on their sword.
Yeah. So, I mean, between the Kotick thing and this as well, I was hearing about Punchbob was telling me about wage ratios and like the and there's economic institutions that are kind of like looking into wage ratios, which is essentially the difference between the lowest paid employee and the highest paid employee at a company. Yeah. And there are apparently places that are trying to show that it can function if and I have to look into this more because I've just been told about it and I'm looking at the basic descriptor of it. But like if you close the distance between that, it incentivizes the company to pay your in order for CEOs to make more money, they have to pay their lowest paid employees more money, and the closer you make that gap, obviously the more you bring up everyone in your company, and then you self-incentivize
until they change the rule to just pay themselves as much as they want, and then they fire a third of their workforce so they can get bigger bonuses.
So there are organizations that are trying to figure out if because they're saying that you can have it be at a 10-to-1 ratio, for example, and that is a fair place you can be where it would again incentivize increasing the standard for your lowest paid workers, and that's in contrast to where it's at without any sort of attempt at keeping it together, where you have, what does it say here, 120-to-1 in the year 2000 in a typical example. Or what was the ridiculous one? There was a crazy thing. I think it was, yeah, here we go, 3,101-to-1 for McDonald's.
Well,
right.
I have to say,
So it's interesting.
A bunch of people with degrees thinking up math reasons for why this would work is one thing, but at the end of the day, Bobby Kotick is going to look at that and go, "Fuck you, make me."
Of course.
And unless somebody literally makes him,
of course,
it won't matter.
Yes, but having the discussion about whether it's possible, what it would look like, as in if someone is in economics and they study this stuff, it's still important to.
Yeah, it would look like it did 60 years ago. A time period that it was within living memory.
Okay, so, but sorry, I don't get it. Like, is your tone implying they should
the average
stuff?
pay of a CEO compared to, say, the lowest paid employee used to be about like 1 to 40 back in like the 40s and 50s. It is now to the point of thousands because they kept giving themselves more money, because the people in charge of deciding where the money go get to say, I should have more money. So unless you just make them, they're just going to give themselves more money. And particularly in the games business, and particularly with Activision, the fastest way to give themselves more money is right before the bonuses come out. They just fire a percentage of the company of more money that they want. So it's like, I mean, the understanding of like, yeah, you could totally do all these wage shenanigans. It's been a foregone conclusion for decades and decades. But until you just file some kind of regulatory nonsense that makes them go anything but, I should have more of the money. They're just going to go, I should have more of the money.
But there's nothing wrong with exploring these possibilities and doing research into, like, these outcomes. But yeah, obviously there's a point at which the action thing is a separate step that is, I
don't know. Researching in how good a company would run if the CEO made less money is actually a complete waste of time unless it's backed by a way to make the CEO make less money.
I don't think researching things is a waste of time. I think, I mean, it's
Wooly, we know.
Like, I think there's a benefit to finding out stuff there, but anyway, but yeah, the part where they go, just no, make me, is absolutely a fucking wall there. But anyway, it's an interesting thing a series of things that I'm hearing about that I didn't know was being looked into.
Here's what will matter more. Keep putting those devil horns on Bobby Kotick's fucking photos, everybody.
So he can't get laid.
Makes him really mad. Makes him very upset.
Blows up his dates.
It's the funniest shit in the world, dude. It's the funniest shit in the world. For real.
So let's start with Sony. A lot of announcements coming out of there. First, the Hiroki Totoki, the CFO, revealed they're planning to heavily increase investment in first-party efforts, over $183 million in the coming year. So shit like Returnal, I guess, is going to be more of that, which kind of makes sense with the start of a generation, I suppose.
Here's my question: Is that going to be new stuff, or is it going to be we're going to give the God of War team $80 more million this year?
Or we're gonna buy other mid-sized studios to put shit out
Right?
with our name on it. There's always that possibility. They're also investing in Discord and planning to integrate it into PlayStation in 2022.
Well, that makes sense because Sony's chat shit on the PlayStation is like the worst. It's so bad.
Wasn't there a story about Microsoft courting Discord not too long ago as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I seem to recall something about like Discord not necessarily wanting to be sold entirely, but they were appraised, and then Microsoft was looking at them. But now, it seems like Sony Interactive Entertainment has taken a minority stake in the company. So they're not buying out Discord, but they're buying a chunk of it.
They're spending money so that Discord has to be their friend.
And
you have to sit at our lunch table, Discord.
You do. You definitely do. And then the third thing they're spending money on, or rather making money on this time around, is some details coming out about the from email from Sony to Epic Games in 2018 dismissing the idea of crossplay for Fortnite. Epic Games pitched crossplay to announce with Sony that Epic goes out of its way to make Sony look like heroes. And then there's a cross-platform revenue share that exists where Sony has to, or Sony gets royalties to offset the reduction in revenue from enabling crossplay in a game.
Sucks. Sony's essentially saying, do you want crossplay? Pay us $1 million.
More. Yeah. So, and
what a bunch of dicks.
So if a game supports crossplay everywhere except for on PlayStation, it's likely because they don't want to pay that revenue share, that extra amount for that, which fucking, blows for the consumer end of things, obviously. But yeah.
This is bullshit.
I mean,
this is crap.
I guess that means that, like, yeah, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid just took the hit,
Yeah.
But not every
or
game
wasn't important enough for Sony to go, you owe us $1 million. Maybe it's like, pay us $50,000, and they're like, okay.
Possibly. This document was particular to that thing, but we don't know if this is something that they're doing standard at this point for every game that requests it. But if a game like Battle for the Grid or whatever just has to like stomach that hit and be like, yeah, we want the game to be, we want it to be a universal experience for everyone on all platforms, and then they just fucking take that, then like, that's lame. That's shitty. Again, not consumer friendly there.
What?
Meanwhile, Microsoft is cutting the 30% fee it usually takes on PC games to 12% in a bid to compete with Steam and entice developers to the Windows Store.
What do you want? Are you upset about Microsoft changing its pricing?
I don't think I don't think that's going to be enough to entice people.
Oh, no, because Epic also pays them millions and millions and millions of dollars.
I think the Windows Store is going to need a little bit more than that to throw its hat in the ring. It
Epic
holds out,
literally goes like, hey, you're going to sell 2 million copies? Okay, we'll pay you that.
Yeah. Now, Epic holds you at gunpoint, but like pays you to be at gunpoint. They pull a loaded gun out and they point it at your head, and then they start sending you tons of money, but they keep the gun. I don't see how Microsoft is gonna jump in third wheel here and just start fucking shaking things up. But hey, sure, cutting that fee down.
Start.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm sure devs appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, talking about fees on platforms. Epic versus Apple has commenced. The trial began at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time.
It's been a mess all
in
day.
Oakland, and there is a live audio feed of the proceedings. But that's not all. There was an announcement that there would be a live audio feed, and it turns out that it's more than just an audio feed, because the 9th District Court cannot figure out how to mute attendees to the public call-in.
It was a fucking Zoom call.
So Epic versus Apple has kids talking on Discord, simultaneously trolling the call, flaming racial slurs, and now Travis Scott music all playing.
And the judge is like, I don't know how to turn this off. How do I turn this off?
Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers appears to be struggling to figure out
what a perfect start. What a perfect start.
How to stop the kids. Yeah.
So I skimmed those court documents for the real case, and like, I'm not a lawyer, but from a non-lawyer perspective, Epic looks like a bunch of fucking goons and jokers. Like, they look like idiots.
What was the quote? Apple shows numbers similar to expert testimony we've covered, estimating that iOS is a small fraction of the Fortnite user base. Open quotation, makes you kind of wonder what we're doing here. Close quotation.
It's like the Epic's main argument is that the 30% rate that Apple set on its store is ridiculous and isn't worth it and has no industry standard. And Apple keeps going like, Steam, it costs 30%. Like this, like Sony and Microsoft do. And back when you guys were selling retail PC games, you guys took 60%. It was almost the same. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
yeah. Unfortunately, this will not lead to any satisfying conclusions soon. This is going to take a while before anything ends or wraps up or whatever the case may be. But Epic Clown Shoes, day one.
Apple pulled like a nice little trick on them, where remember, Epic made it so you could buy Fortnite bucks wherever and then use them on your iOS account, and then Apple was like, "What the fuck?" And that's what got them kicked off. When Epic was like, they're charging 30%, Apple's like, you can just totally buy Fortnite bucks anywhere and use them. Like, they're using the thing they did to get themselves kicked off as proof that Apple isn't wrong in the first place. It's like, no, you don't need to buy Fortnite bucks on the iOS store. You can totally buy it on the website.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if at any point they're going to, like, present the campaign. I assume it's going to be a part of this discussion, but it's like the part of this where Epic went on this ridiculous public, like, fucking righteous 1984 campaign is the most embarrassing aspect, because it kind of, like, again, anyone who's looking at this going, yeah, fuck these two, let these giants fight, whoever wins, who cares,
let them fight. Let the babies shit on each other.
But when one company specifically is acting like ridiculous, like putting the clown makeup on as it goes on, it's hard to not want to see them eat it harder. in the long run. So
It's like
oh
I
my
don't know
god,
how
and
they
then
could
the fucking box, the collector's box with the shirt and
Oh
shit.
yeah. It's like I don't know how they could possibly argue that
Yeah.
like the thing was in good faith when they had like the campaign ready to go within like 6 hours. Like there were shirts, there was merchandise.
They
They're like,
printed
come on.
merch. They sold
Like,
merch.
come on, get the fuck
Yeah,
out of here.
I hope that gets introduced and discussed in the case. That would be really interesting to see if it's considered in any way, shape, or form.
Your Honor,
you know?
I'd like to call Tim Sweeney to the stand. He is a dumb bitch. Can we put that on the record?
Can we play the song that Fortnite put out called "Play It for the Jury"? Play it for the jury.
Can we get a situation? I'd like everyone in the court to watch the judge. You'd like to watch this. The video Epic put out, the 1984. I put forth to the court that this is cringe.
You want to help Tim
the
Sweeney?
judge recognizes that this is cringe. Yes.
You're a fan of Tim Sweeney. You want to help Tim Sweeney? Introduce him to some older woman. Hide his camcorder. Anyway, we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, this lawsuit is cringe.
The whole thing.
It's just straight cringe. It's embarrassing. Also, we find out that out of the hundreds of millions of people that play Fortnite, only about 10 million of them are on iOS, which means it's like the whole fight is over like 1 to 2%
It's the most
of their
nothing.
total. Like, like what you're fighting.
All this posturing, all this merch, all this like set up to talk about, like to imply that their bottom line is being crippled, acting as if their kneecaps are getting busted out, and it turns out to be the most minimal nothing of their enormous fan base.
Yeah. It's like, oh. And again, by trying to make more money, they actually lost a significant amount of money.
Do you think it's possible that like Tim was just really, really adamant about going hard in this direction, and everyone on the board members, on the fucking team, all the way down, were trying to rein it in as much as possible while he wanted to go full steam ahead?
Absolutely not. However, what I do think is possible is that Tim and 5 dudes on the board were like 100% go for it. And there were 2 guys on the board and literally the entire management structure directly underneath them that were like, you stupid motherfuckers. Don't do you stupid.
You think if anyone pulls out an iPhone at lunch that he'll just smack it out of their hands?
No, absolutely not. They all have iPhones. And at the end of the trial or whatever the fuck this is, they're all gonna laugh and all go out to dinner together and then just jerk and fart off on each other and be like ha 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 and then eat money.
You mean snort?
No. They're gonna print out Benjamins and just eat them.
Okay.
Can you not right now, please?
All right. If you'd like to send a letter, you can send it to castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com. Got a couple coming in over here.
castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com.
We got one coming in from Jared. Hey, shitlords. Greeting from the burned out husk of Detroit. Recently gave the Witcher series my 6th attempt at a playthrough, whereas I bounced off every other time. Something finally clicked, and I fell in love with it. The same thing happened to me with the musician Woodkid. Simply put, is there anything you've tried to like but were repulsed by, only to eventually love it after many tries at it?
I know what my answer is.
DMC doesn't count because they made the game better.
I want to yell out penis, but no, that's not it. I just think it would be funny. No, it's the Soul series. It's the Soul series for me, 100%.
See, my preconceived notions were not based on touching it, though, so that doesn't really count for me. For that to work, it needs to be something I've touched and like didn't like and then came back to. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I played Demon's Souls 4 times or 3 times, and like until the time that I got it, I was like, this is a fucking stupid game for idiots. Who would like this? And Witcher 1 was also like this. I had to play it. I only got into it on the second try. Have you ever seen Witcher 1, Wooly? Like, seen it?
If I have, it's not something I remember.
It is fucked up. It is a fucked up game. See, this is how tweets happen. You see that? You see what's happening right now?
Yeah. No, you've made it quite clear how bad Witcher 1 is.
Oh, I love that game. It's great. It is a great game. It is terrible. I hate it. Don't play it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything where like I touched it and then stopped and then came back and bounced off and stopped and then came back again.
Yeah, usually you know what you like.
Or I have an impression of something before I touch it, and then it's my impression is wrong. You know?
That is a lot. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when you wrote off the Dark Souls series because you saw a guy in medieval armor, and you were
That's
like,
what
whatever.
I literally just said like 4 minutes ago. That's what I said. Yeah.
I'm repeating because I was listening to you.
Yeah. Didn't play any of the Monster Hunter games. Didn't touch them.
It's good that you didn't. Monster Hunter might be a series that like it's good to get in as late as possible. Because if you're repelled by it, you're repelled strongly.
I can think of stuff that I've bounced off of, but it never came back around on, and that's just a list of things that makes people upset. So we can just ignore that.
What do you got? What do you got?
We can just ignore it. There's no reason to go down this road.
What sucks?
There's no benefit to getting down this road because it just makes people that are fans upset about things. So we can just.
Right.
There's no reason. You know.
You could say the world will end with this conversation.
That's not even what I was thinking of.
I don't care. That one's for me.
Sure. Seiken Densetsu. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
All of them. I tried. Bounced off. Didn't dig it.
I mean, I appreciate it, but I don't care for it.
You know?
Yeah.
Here's one coming in from...
Oh, hey, it's a piece of news. Steam Database found out there's going to be Outer Wilds DLC.
Okay.
It's called The Eye of the Vortex or something.
Okay. Did that game...
That's all I got.
Does that make sense with that game?
Oh, did you not beat it?
Not yet.
Oh, you should.
No, I know. Okay. We got one coming in here from, I guess, Bless. This was what it's tagged by, but
okay.
Dear True Toy and Burger Dad, I was invited to the Amazon Luna Early Access program and accepted it. On reading the page details, I discovered this insanity. The controller does not connect to your local streaming device. The controller connects directly to the game server itself to reduce latency.
Yeah.
That's what they announced. I thought you'd appreciate the insanity. Yeah, that is what they said it would do.
See, it's so fast. It doesn't even connect to the box that you have. So why would you even have... fuck it.
If Gene can do the test and show us what that looks like, then wonderful. Wonderful. You know? Though the idea of the controller that doesn't connect to the thing in front of you is kind of wild. Also, if your if your service goes down, then you can't interface with the console anymore.
Well, yeah.
You can't.
Why would you want to?
Like, your whole network disconnected message means that, like, you can't actually interact with your thing because it's just it's sitting in front of you.
Turn it off.
You probably have to get up or use your phone, maybe.
You know what's a great idea? Like a really fantastic idea? Mandating Wi-Fi for inputs.
Anyway, that's wild shit. But that's reports coming in from the Luna front lines.
Everything I hear about that from people that have been messing with it is that, like, if you thought Stadia was bad, get ready for this fucking thing.
Nice. It's good.
Wait, do you think any of the games from Amazon are going to come out? Like, even a single one?
I'm trying to think of what I can wager. Because
I'm not betting you. No way.
Because I will I will put it down. I will fucking, yeah. It's rough out there, man. They can't get it together. I just, in one form or another, they're going to buy at least another 2 studios before something comes out.
Oh, yeah.
We got one over here. Steven says, hey, Patrodactyl and Woolly Mammoth recently found.
Those.
I mean, it's literally my entire childhood, but sure. Recently, I've been playing the Halo Master Chief Collection during a week. They had a Team Fiesta playlist running. For those who don't know, Team Fiesta is when you spawn with randomized weapons instead of a set loadout. One thing that I've been doing is I'd find it odd, and I'm the only one using weapons that I spawn with, not picking up anything I find on the ground. I'm sticking with the brute shot and plasma rifle. I spawned instead of picking up fully loaded rocket launcher on the ground. It allows practice using weapons that I typically don't use in multiplayer. It forces me to be creative with what I'm given. So my question is, do you have any self-imposed rules you place on yourself when you're playing a multiplayer game, either for the challenge or that makes the game feel more fun?
Usually, I don't like self-imposed rules.
Well, in a single player game, we always talk about the no items in character action.
Oh man, I'm at the point where I forget those things even exist.
So,
like, it's not a self-imposed rule, it's just I literally don't know it's even there.
Yeah, I mean, they detract from your score, so that's a major disincentive. But when Wonderful 101 had items that did not detract from your score, it was the weirdest fucking thing ever to be like, oh no, use this anyway. It's like, but that's not what we've been doing for a long time now.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I just had like a mind break moment. I was looking at the chat, and after I had said I don't like self-imposed rules, to which people point out, Pat, you use dozens of self-imposed rules all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain went, no, that's different. Those aren't my rules. Those are the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh no, that's a crazy thing to say.
This is just the way it must be done. That's not your self-imposed.
That's a oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't use consumable items. That's not my rule. That's the rule.
Of course. Like, goblins are here, and they impose the correct things that must be. Sure.
It has to be. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I'll be doing something and Paige will be like, why are you doing it like that? I'm like, because that's the way you do it. And she goes, no, but why are you doing it this way? I'm like, because that's the way it's done.
The closest thing I can think of in a multiplayer context is once me and my friends found License to Kill mode in 007, we never went back. It was just infinitely more fun to play with one hit, one shot, one death. It was just, the flow of the game is better. It's faster. It's just more tense. Everything is holy shit. There's wacky moments of rounding a corner and seeing who could do a slap chop first.
Everybody panics.
Yeah, it's just a much funner game on License to Kill. So whenever I play later on, with other people who are just on normal, I'm just like, I legitimately like the game less if there's a life bar and a shield.
It reminds me, it's funny because it's not self-imposed, but the mode that he's describing, Fiesta mode in Halo, there's a version of that with his self-imposed rule in some of the Black Ops games called Gun Game, which is my favorite Call of Duty mode ever, which is everybody starts with one weapon, and it's the same sequence of weapons for everyone. And it's like, okay, everyone starts with a shotgun. When you kill somebody with a shotgun, you get the MP5. When you kill somebody with the MP5, you get a sniper rifle. When you kill somebody with a sniper rifle, you get the knife. And you must get that kill to switch to the next weapon, and the first person who goes through the entire roster of guns is the winner.
Cool.
It's a blast. It's a ton of fun.
You can't just specialize.
Yeah. Gun Game is fantastic.
That sounds fun. I like that. Yeah.
Because you get into the situation where one guy just pulls way ahead, and then he gets a sniper rifle, which he sucks with, and just can't make it happen. It's great.
The only other self-imposed rule I guess I can think of is when playing Guns the Duel back in the day, don't be a stupid cheating shit.
Well, yeah, don't cheat is... No, that's not a self-imposed rule. That's a real rule.
Oh, how about dueling in the Jedi Knight games before the mechanic was like it made you invulnerable? Like, because I'm thinking, like, wasn't, because this was I think I'm trying to remember if, like, my brother, because he was the one that, like, originally got me into these games. Couldn't you play the multiplayer and have, like, just 1v1s and, like, not get interference with
oh, I don't know, that's ages ago for me.
Yeah, there was something I might be misremembering, but I remember eventually in, like, Jedi Outcast or Jedi Academy 2 or I forget which, but in they put in the system where two people see each other and you can both duel and you can, like, both bow and then begin a, like, no one can interfere, we're 1v1ing, and, like, we're now completely untouchable to the rest of the death match, you know? Thing. Mm-hmm. And then, like, there was, like, self-imposed versions of that where you can meet up with somebody somewhere and just do 1v1s instead of just chaotic deathmatch stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, it was a courtesy system.
That makes me think of For Honor.
For Honor had some of that too. Yeah, that's true.
Do you wait?
The team battles.
Just fucking get in there.
Yeah, the team battle. Yeah, that was a fun little, like, you know, you stand on the side and you're like, okay, my turn. You lost. That's true. Mm-hmm. That's going way back.
And you did a Nuzlocke, so that counts.
I did do a Nuzlocke. Mm-hmm.
Wait,
yeah.
Since I was only there for the last 2 hours, do I get to say that I also did the Nuzlocke?
Sure.
I did the Nuzlocke.
Sure.
I've won. You know, it's funny. I've won a Nuzlocke run. I didn't even play it. That's crazy.
All right, that'll do her.
I did it. You have
Okay.
anything else to say before we? Because I, it's awkward.
I've seen the other side of the pachinko mines.
Yeah, what's there?
Abandon all hope. But I did the work for you, so you never have to. Check
Thank
out
you,
Guilty
Willie.
Gear lore.